Hey guys, as you already know, this video will have two different voices, and this part will be a bit shorter because I'm bringing the new chapters to keep you updated. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, leave a like, and hype up the video. If we get 1,000 likes, I'll bring more parts of this work again. Without further ado, let's get to the video.
The story begins with notifications asking if he really wants to live a new life. Shortly after, a voice says it's just another one of those spam pages. Then, it introduces a boy sitting at a table, reading manga, and complaining that he doesn't need such outdated ads, and hasn't been able to find a job for weeks. The protagonist's room is a mess. As he continues messing with his computer, with his hand on the mouse, he gets upset about something he sees, dropping his lollipop. The computer screen shows an image of a black hole with colorful lights around it. The boy is pulled in, and, frightened, he asks what's going on. More notifications arrive, saying that he's embarking on a journey, but he still doesn't understand anything. The protagonist's eyes shed tears, and scared, he asks what they're talking about, as he didn't even have a choice. In another place, it shows the Earth era at Starlight Academy in the year 2666 of the Earth era. The academy was invaded by alien creatures and suffered devastating blows. Later, the government used nuclear weapons to wipe out the creatures. However, the X virus they left behind spread across the world, causing zombies and beasts to wander the Earth. From there, martial artists emerged and became the most respected warriors. Suddenly, Shu's bully of a roommate kicks the door open, angrily calling for him and finding the boy asleep. He picks him up from the bed and shakes him, asking where the food he asked him to get is and if he wants to starve him. Without a second thought, he throws the boy onto the ceiling, cracking it, still cursing at him. Falling onto the floor, Chiang's roommates observe and comment that he might be unconscious. He responds, saying the protagonist is just a loser. Approaching, he steps on the boy's hand and curses at him, saying it's an honor for him to be eliminated by his hands. Next, the laundry room is shown, full of dirty clothes. While Chiang steps on the boy's hand again, he says that he didn't bring food and made him look bad in front of June. Stepping on his hand again, he continues saying unnecessary things. Shu opens his eyes and tries to complain, but can't speak. Seeing a foot on his hand, he thinks it hurts and becomes confused, wondering if he wasn't just in his room reading manga. Chiang points at the boy, noticing that he's opening his eyes, realizing that he hasn't been executed yet. As the protagonist's hand tingles with pain, he gets up, still dazed, not understanding what's happening. The bully says he has a lot of endurance, kicking him and claiming he will keep hitting him until he's executed. The boy's face is covered in various injuries, with smoke surrounding his fallen body. Shu's eyes shed tears, and in anguish, he wonders who has such bad luck to end up like this. Elsewhere, people attack him physically and psychologically. Even the academy staff humiliates him, saying that zombies are everywhere and that someone like him could be eliminated in 3 days. The protagonist is then shown sitting on the floor, remembering the people who judged him and said cruel things. His mind can only wish for an end. With injuries on his face, he thinks that if he stays there, he won't survive. Shu stands up, with pain all over his body, thinking it's no surprise that the boy doesn't want to survive. He says it's not right to leave such messes in his hands, as tolerance isn't in his dictionary. Chiang notices the boy getting up and tells his friends to look at the defiant look in the little loser's eyes. Angrier, he asks who he thinks he is, punching him in the chest and asking if he's convinced. Racked with pain, the boy answers no. Chiang says he will attack again, claiming he'll keep beating him until he's convinced. He continues to hit him, causing more injuries, and repeatedly asks if he's convinced. The boy, irritated, stands up and says no, because abusers like him, even if he kills him, will never convince him. The bully wipes his face, which is covered with injuries. Still dazed, the boy wonders what kind of reincarnation this is. More notifications arrive, informing him that an accumulation of anger has been detected, presenting Xiu's data and asking if he wants to release the accumulated rage. He notices that it's the same system from before. Just as the bully tries to attack him again, he unleashes his anger, blocking the punches on his arm, says he needs to go too, and can't pretend anymore, stating that the blow has drained the little energy left in his body. Sitting in a chair, another notification arrives, saying he has obtained a roulette spin. He clicks spin, and upon seeing the roulette, he hopes for Linyan coins, as otherwise the money in the body's savings wouldn't be enough to heal his wounds. After, he asks where she's looking and thinks she's scary, fearing that if he doesn't control himself, he might lose his virginity right there. The nurse asks how much healing he wants. He replies that it costs 9,800 coins. He then lies down and reflects that the previous owner of the body was much weaker than he thought and probably suffered a lot. However, from now on, he won't let that happen. During the full preparation, it's noted that the body is completely injured, and the time for full healing will be 5 hours. He waits, lying down, for the process to finish. 5 hours later, he says he'll be a new Lin Xiu. Meanwhile, in Class 29, it is explained that a recent exploration of Area 20 found 20 slots. The teacher says all martial arts beginners can join. However, he notices that Chiang is absent, and his classmates say he's undergoing surgery in Area C. The teacher asks what happened. They explain that he was beaten by Shu and that all his ribs are broken. The students can't believe it. One student from the class says he saw it with his own eyes. The teacher puts his hand on his face and says that, so, Chiang won't participate in the exploration of Area 20. Suddenly, Shu appears at the door and asks if he can go. The students observe and comment that the protagonist looks different now and doesn't seem like the same person. The teacher tells him not to rush, as Area 20 is more dangerous than he thinks, and he should first reach the initial rank in martial arts. Jun says Area 20 is a territory full of zombies and monsters, asking if he's trying to get himself killed. Shu laughs confidently and asks if he beats him, will he be allowed to go? The boy tells him to stop dreaming. Still confident, Shu asks if he wants to try. Jun slams his hand on the table, saying it's obvious. Standing up, he says he'll teach him a lesson, and that he shouldn't think he can act arrogantly in front of him just because he beat Chiang. The evaluation eye is activated, and Shu sees all of Jun's data. He notices that Jun is weaker than Chiang, as he just needs to dodge his attacks and wait until his anger maximizes, then strike with everything and easily defeat him. He tells him to meet him in the arena after class. In the academy arena, people comment on how Shu dares to challenge a martial arts beginner rank, saying they're about to witness a great show. The redhead approaches Shu and asks if he's really planning to fight him. Shu, confident, replies not to worry, as he's wanted to hit him for a long time. After climbing into the arena, Jun asks if he really dared to step up, thinks that all he needs to do is dodge and block, waiting for the anger points to accumulate. The anger bar is almost full. The crowd laughs, saying that as making it extremely dangerous. However, because the risk and the rewards are equal, parts of mutant animals and monsters are valuable materials, and their brains contain a magical crystal that helps martial artists cultivate. This material is unique and rare, with high value. The teacher, with the students in Area 20, says that all of them have received long-term training and should use the weapons and combat suits provided by the academy. Dealing with regular zombies and monsters won't be a problem. He says it's different from training because the mutant zombies and monsters they'll face are much more dangerous, and students have already been eliminated, devoured by zombies due to fear. Only by combat experience will they assess their skills, and that will make their hearts stronger. The redhead asks if Shu is scared because he looks so nervous. Shu asks, scared of what? Thinking that, to him, these zombies are just valuable experience points. The teacher asks them to split into 4 groups and tells them not to go too deep, as they haven't been able to defeat the monsters in the deeper areas. He tells them to go. Everyone shouts, yes! Next, a wounded bird appears. On one side of Area 20, the redhead and Shu walk. The blonde tells Shu not to be dead weight. The redhead says they should be careful and not cry when they see the zombies. The protagonist raises his arm, signaling him to stop talking, as he's spotted movement. The boys get alert. The smoke moves. The protagonist watches closely and says something is approaching. They take combat positions. The smoke increases, and sounds begin. A zombie appears, along with its specialties and combat abilities. The zombie charges forward. Zhu observes the zombie's data and notices that even the zombie has better combat skills than him, as he only has 291 combat skills so far. The other boys watch as the protagonist positions himself with a sword in hand. He charges forward, focusing and attacking the zombie with his sword. Notifications come in, congratulating Zhu for defeating the zombie and leveling up, earning 2 attribute points. He's pleased and decides to add the 2 points to strength. Strength increases to 38, and he gets distracted. The redhead shouts for him to be careful. When he turns around, the protagonist faces some more zombies. The blonde tells him to move aside and, running, attacks the zombies with his sword. His friend says he's the best. Zhang remarks that he didn't know there was a mute chicken here. Shu observes and thinks about his experience points. Walking, he says they should leave. Elsewhere, a giant tree with bones appears. They walk, looking around, when a monster's foot approaches. Several smokes move, and Zhu, alert, tells them to wait. The monster has huge, sharp teeth. The redhead asks if he can kill it this time. The zombie leader looks to the side and notices something. The redhead asks what it is and tells them to go over there. The protagonist tells them not to leave the spot. The zombie moves closer, emitting a sound that grows louder. Then, a hand begins to rise from the ground, followed by several zombies of various types. They're shocked at what they see. Zhang says there are too many, and that he doesn't want to die here. Then, he runs away, and the redhead asks him to wait. The protagonist wonders if this is exactly what he wants. If he kills all these zombies, he'll level up several times. He then runs to attack the zombies, thinking that, if a bicycle can turn into a motorcycle, he can surpass himself. The redhead asks what he's doing and if he's crazy. Confident, the protagonist thinks he can do this. He begins attacking the zombies, and the redhead watches and decide to kill the snake, saying they're going to get rich. Hidden, the protagonist observes and thinks about rank 1 attacking rank 3. He wonders if they think it's that easy to get rich. They try to attack the giant snake, and Zhu thinks as he approaches her, he asks if she's dead. He then picks her up and says she's still breathing, assuming she fainted. He gets out of the water and places her on the grass. He wonders why it has to be such a beautiful girl. Xu observes her and laments that this is the difference in their strength. Luo asks him to stop stalling, put the sword down, and kill the beast already. So he places the sword on the ground, and the girl says that the sword is very fast, and special occasions arrive, congratulating him for leveling up. The protagonist comments that these were the 30 evolved monsters and thinks Luo is scary because, at her age, she already knows so much about evolved monsters, their habitats. With the Fury buff, he could use 2 abilities at once. He continues defending until the Fury is complete, thinking that he must defeat them quickly and use everything he has to take down the rank 2 martial artist. The redhead approaches the leader and asks if Xu is really just an apprentice, and whether he should be able to endure the attacks like this. The leader responds that he must have used some secret technique, but such techniques have side effects, and they just need to prevent him from fleeing again. Then more notifications appear, asking if he wants the Fury energy, as it has been completed. The protagonist says yes. Grabbing the spear, he thinks to himself that he will channel all of his fury into an attack. Then, annoyed, he wonders why his spear broke at such a crucial moment, until he realizes that his sword energy is also depleted, and he doesn't even have the strength to draw his sword. Zhang observes and laughs, satisfied, saying, "God, it seems like they want him eliminated." Without thinking twice, he approaches to attack him, but notices someone defending Xu. The nurse approaches and asks how 2 rank 2 hunters dare to touch an academy student, asking who gave them such audacity. Zhang asks who she is. She replies that they are not worthy of knowing, saying she'll count to 3 and expects them to disappear once she stops counting, as she's only there to save people and doesn't care about defeating them, especially someone like them. While they run away, Xu realizes that this doctor is a rank 4 martial artist, followed by some beast. Yang gets angry, clenches his fist, and tells him to say that again. He replies that he's just speaking the truth, asking if Yang wants to fight. The teacher interrupts and tells both to be quiet and wait, as Xu might come back. Jun says that it's almost night, asking if they should stay there, and says they don't have to stay because Xu must have been eliminated a long time ago. Then, a voice asks who's cursing him. Everyone looks, and Xu approaches, saying it seems like Jun wants another beating, asking if he should knock him out again to make him shut up. Yang is pleased to see this. Jun says he thought Xu had been eliminated, and the protagonist walks over confidently. The teacher asks if he's okay, and he responds that he is. Cheyu says that over the past few days he hasn't just been hiding, and that, at least, he should mention that he defeated a beast, laughing. The protagonist responds that it looks like they've killed a lot of mutant beasts. He says, of course, and that Zhang killed 8 rank 1 beasts. People comment that, as expected of the class representative, he's amazing, boosting his ego. Xu asks if 8 rank 1 beasts are considered a lot, throwing all the cores from his bag on the ground. The teacher says that there are 16 rank 1 cores, 2 rank 2 cores, and 3 rank 3 cores. Everyone is surprised, and someone asks if those are rank 3 cores, and if there are really 3 of them. People can't believe it. Zhang, irritated, says it can't be true, and that the teacher is definitely lying to them. The teacher stands up and asks, lying? And wonders if Zhang is lying to him as well, saying that a rank 3 core costs around 450,000, and asking who among them could afford to buy 3 just to deceive him. Zhang tries to say something, but the teacher interrupts and says that this training is showing more results than expected. Since they aren't real martial artists, they can't sell on the official website yet, but the hotel manager is buying cores. Yang and Xu observe, intrigued. At the hotel, a rank 1 core costs 1,000, and the boy tells the manager that he has 2, which will be enough to live well for a month, while the line to sell cores is long. The protagonist asks why he's being left last. Yang responds that it's because he has too many cores, and if he went before, he asks if the protagonist realizes how many people would get upset. He then places all the cores on the counter. The manager becomes interested, as he has rank 3 cores, and 3 of them. He says he'll give 500,000 for just one. Yang is impressed, and the people around are too, as with 5 rank 2 and 16 rank 1 cores, it's almost 2 million. The manager asks Xu to send the union card because he'll send the money immediately. Another guy arrives, pushing the protagonist aside and telling him to get out of the way as he's wasting time. Xu observes and stays silent. The bully asks if the brats are from class 29, and Yuan, his buddy, says they're losers, and yet they tried to do a combat training. While Yang is irritated, asking what they said, Xu, observing, notices they're top-tier students, as he's heard about them before. They were once at the initial rank and are now almost complete. This Sun seems to be ranked 18th in the combat ranking. Sun hands over and says that there are 10 rank 1 cores, 1 rank 2 core, and asks them to exchange them for union currency. He asks if they saw that he eliminated a rank 2 beast, calling that power, something people like them can never do. He says that his class still has the trash of trash, and that's Lin Shu, as expected from the trash of the class. The protagonist walks up and says that he's the trash he was talking about, asking why they cut the line and how much nonsense they're talking. He says it's better for him to apologize, or he'll have to let him taste the feeling of being beaten by trash. The bully gets angry and curses, saying he needs to teach him a lesson. Xu clenches his fist, ready to punch. Sun asks if he wants to fight up close and that he's about to experience his end. They start fighting, and the bully wonders why he's so strong, holding his arm in pain. He then kicks him and says he needs to break him. Xu lifts his feet and says he's still nothing, attacking and hitting his face, causing injuries. People scream for him to finish him off. The bully puts his hand on his face and says it seems like he's not that useless, but he managed to make him really angry. He then clenches his fist and starts using his abilities, while the protagonist dodges, waiting for his ability to be completed. Zhang watches, wondering how Xu reached this level in just 3 days of training, as facing a first-class opponent isn't something anyone can do. Sun asks if he's just going to keep dodging, saying he'll show him what a real punch is, attacking him with his ability. People shout for Xu to be careful. Yuan says he's underestimating him. But the bully realizes that the protagonist blocked his punch. A notification pops up saying the fury energy has been accumulated, asking if he wants to use the attack. Xu thinks he can easily defeat him with his own power and wants to make an example of him so that others won't dare provoke him. Then he twists the bully's arm, breaking it. The bully screams in pain. Yuan gets worried about him. Sun's teammates get angry and say unnecessary things. Yang says they were the ones who attacked first and calls them out. Yuan says it's just practice, asking if what he did wasn't too cruel. The protagonist responds that he used a martial technique just now, and if it were anyone else, they would have been seriously injured by him, so he's just returning what they did. Yuan responds that it was excessive. The hotel manager asks them to stop for a moment and says he's already sent the money for the 3 rank 3 beast cores, asking them to check. Yuan wonders if he heard correctly and if Xu is capable of eliminating rank 3 beasts, asking why he's so strong. The protagonist says he heard that Yuan wants to avenge his friend, as it seems like he wants to fight him, thinking he's got a full-on attack waiting for him. When they face off, a voice approaches asking what they're doing and if they want to fight. The teachers enter through the door, and Sun's teammates tell the teacher that the class 29 students broke his arm. Yang says they're talking nonsense, as he attacked them first. Data, and his overall combat power is 450. The professor goes through everyone's stats and mentions that Zhang is almost ready to become a martial artist. Xu observes and thinks that combat power between 300, 600 is a basic level warrior, 600, 800 is almost a warrior, and 800, 1500 is a first-order warrior. The professor says that since Zhang reached the level of a great warrior, he can try cultivation tomorrow. Zhang thanks him. The reason he became so strong is due to the cultivation technique, as there are many energies in the universe that are beneficial to humans. These energies are called sources. Through cultivation, a martial artist absorbs source energy from the air, strengthens cell vitality, muscles, and even bones, making the body stronger. Then it's Xu's turn. He steps onto the device, and people laugh, as Chu says he doesn't need to test anything, and that even with some strength, trash is still trash. Yang asks if he has the ability to break one of Sun's group members' arms. Xu responds that it was just a coincidence. On the equipment, Xu thinks spear. The professor says the spear is the king of weapons, and if he masters it, he will become very strong. He adds that spears are one of the hardest weapons to practice and asks if he's sure. Xu replies affirmatively. The professor hands over the card and says his information has been registered. With this card, he can go to the second floor of the library and get basic techniques. He asks why Xu chose that weapon. Xu asks if he knows who the top 10 martial artists in the world are. The professor says he does and starts listing the top 10. Xu slams the table and says that the martial arts ranking is missing a spear user. The professor stops, thinks for a moment, and says that indeed, there is no spear user in the top 10. He's surprised, but Shu walks off, saying he'll see him around. The professor watches and thinks that the boy has great ambition and could become famous and strong in the near future. Shu asks for the spear technique and receives the martial arts technique card. He says that now he just needs a good spear, sighing that since he's not an official martial artist yet, he can't buy anything from the Martial Union site. He walks toward the Martial Weapons Hall and realizes that he can only try his luck there. After entering, an old man laughs and asks him to speak up, asking what weapon he wants. The protagonist says he wants to buy a spear. The man replies that not many students use this weapon, but he's just made a bunch of long spears, showing them and asking him to take a look. He shows a spear that weighs 20 kilograms, made from extraterrestrial meteorite, and says it's worth its price, costing only 200,000, but with a discount, it's only 50,000. Shu takes it in his hand and feels that it's too light. The seller shows another, weighing 35 kilograms, listing its details, price, and discount, but Shu says it's still too light. He tries another one, and the man says it's 45 kilograms, listing all the details, but Shu says it's still too light, asking if he has anything heavier. The seller starts sweating. Getting irritated, he asks if Shu is here to buy a spear or just to mess around. If he wants something heavier, he has one, but he's afraid Shu won't be able to lift it. The man grabs a huge box and sets it on the ground, saying it's been stored for a long time because it's extremely heavy. He opens the box, revealing a spear that's covered in dust, saying it was made from the mother stone of stellar ore, weighing 65 kilograms. Shu is left speechless, continuing to listen as the man talks about how strong it is, explaining that normal stellar ore alone wouldn't be able to create it. He says the spear is called the Steel Soul. Shu picks it up and says it feels perfect. Satisfied, he says he wants this one. The seller says the original price is 1.5 million, but since it hasn't been sold in a long time, he'll give a 20% discount, making it 1.2 million. He thinks to himself that the spear weighs 65 kilograms and the boy can lift it freely, wondering if he's truly just a potential martial artist. Shu thinks the price is steep and asks if he can pay in installments. The man says no, he has to pay it all at once or leave it. Shu thinks it's a scam, as he worked hard to get the cores, and just buying this spear alone will make him pay half of his earnings. Meanwhile, Shu believes that after becoming a potential martial artist, he can finally use the cultivation technique. Currently, there's energy in every corner of Earth, which martial artists call yuan, but normal people cannot sense, absorb, or forge their bodies with it. Sitting on the ground, he wonders what kind of change his body will go through, as he doesn't feel any alteration. He then checks his system, noticing that his physique and strength have increased by 2 points each, which could be due to the cultivation technique. To increase these stats, he usually needs potential points from the system. A notification arrives asking if he wants to proceed with the draw. Shu realizes that, aside from the regular rewards, there's usually a chance for a monthly lottery. He starts the draw. As the roulette spins, he hopes he doesn't get another weapon, since he just spent 1.2 million on a spear, and it would be a big loss. The roulette stops, and he wins a fast growth package. A surprise box appears. When he opens it, he finds several outfits and asks what they are. More notifications arrive, asking if he wants to use the fast growth package. The protagonist agrees, and more notifications appear, asking him to wear the items from the package for cultivation. After putting them on, he wonders what these items are. Once dressed, he asks, "Now what?" Another notification says that he's successfully equipped the items and the fast growth package has been activated. The current progress begins to load. He becomes frustrated, falls to the ground, and asks what's happening, saying it feels heavy. The data shows that the vest weighs 40 kilograms, bringing the total weight to 130 kilograms. He places his arm on the ground with the weights and says he doesn't want to play anymore, calling the system a scammer and asking it to stop. More notifications appear saying that the fast growth package isn't over yet, so it's impossible to remove it. The protagonist gets angry. The system then says it suggests that he gets used to it, because if he doesn't, he'll crawl to school like this tomorrow. After the host completes the progress of the fast growth package, he will gain 25 skill points. Shu calms down, knowing that he can earn 25 skill points. He asks if it's just crawling, as before learning to walk, he had to learn to crawl. The next day at the academy, the protagonist walks and says he crawled all night, barely able to get up and walk. He did a few laps, but it seems he's on the 19th lap, although there's still a long way to go. The fast growth package is still at 1,010,000ths. Then, someone pushed him from behind. Shuang looks embarrassed and asks if he's okay, wondering if he's sick. Feeling awkward, sitting on the ground, he says he's fine, just distracted, and didn't notice. With his hand on her head, he says it's been 2 years since they last saw each other, since the end of high school, and tells her she has become a beautiful young lady. asking what brought her there. She replies that the exams are soon, so some professors brought them to visit a few universities to see which ones they like. Xiu asks if she decided to enroll in the academy since they study there. Shuang tells him to stop dreaming, saying she didn't enroll in this school because of him. Just then, a voice approaches and asks her if this was her neighbor. As it gets closer, the person says they heard that the worst trash in the academy is also named Lin Xiu, asking if it's the same person. The girl gets irritated and asks what he's trying to say. Tang says he just wanted to practice a little with the senior, who is 2 years older than him, and now considers him his opponent. Shuang pulls on the sleeve of her shirt, saying she'll practice with him. The bully says he doesn't want to win against her, asking if her neighbor is scared and telling him not to be a coward. Xiu laughs and says, "Sure, since he's asking to get beaten, I'll grant his wish," thinking that, even though his body is carrying an extra 200 kilograms, dealing with a spoiled brat is no problem. Tang takes his position, and Xiu tells him he can come closer. Then, the spoiled brat rushes at him, trying to attack, but Xiu blocks and throws him to the ground. Tang says he's not bad. Xiu thinks it was fast, but if he were in his normal condition, he could easily dodge. However, with the 200 kilograms on him, he can't avoid the hit. Tang continues attacking. The people watching say Tang will win, and the girl is confident Xiu won't lose. The spoiled brat notices he's not making progress and thinks he needs to push him back, but can't. He needs to defeat him in front of Shuang. The antagonist hits him again with a kick to the mouth, sending the spoiled brat flying. Tang's friends rush to him, asking if he's okay. The boy, sitting on the ground with his face covered in wounds, says he'll defeat Xiu. Xiu walks forward and tells him to come. But then he notices something strange. He's sent flying by a single punch from Tian. The protagonist gets up, and Tang shouts for his brother to break Xiu's 4 limbs. Xiu realizes it's the veteran, ranked in the top 100 of the school's ranking. The boy clenches his fist to throw a punch and says that since Xiu broke his brother's fist, he'll take care of Xiu's 4 limbs. Xiu thinks to himself that he's carrying over 100 kilograms and can't dodge at all. He's then thrown to the ground by a punch. Shuang steps in front and tells Tian to stop, saying she won't let him hurt Xiu. Tian asks where this spoiled girl came from and tells her to screw off, trying to punch her and making him fall to the ground. Tian says that Xiu is still trying to save the girl, even though he's about to be defeated, and approaches, saying he's going to fix him, climbing on top of him and attacking again, saying that now it's the other hand, and not only will he fix him, but he'll also turn him into useless trash. A voice approaches who is right or wrong. Tian steps back and says that Xiu escaped today, but he won't be able to hide forever. The protagonist tells him not to worry, and that in 3 days, he wants a martial arts duel against him. The professor tells him to stop being an idiot. People at the academy start talking, saying Xiu wants to have a duel with Tian, who is in the top 100 of the school's ranking, and that Xiu will be beaten to the ground and defeated. In the classroom, they also comment that Xiu, thanks to the medicine, he manages to master the technique in 3 days. Soon, a notification pops up saying that the host has reached level 11. Xiu thinks that with these points, he can become even stronger. It seems the pace of the fast growth package isn't enough though. He's already used to the extra weight, but his combat ability has dropped to 80%. Tired from training, he thinks that tonight he needs to compete in the martial arts duel, so he will go back to take a bath and prepare for the fight. In the martial arts arena, the presenter announces that the first duel of the year is about to begin and introduces the 2 students in the arena. The 2 stare at each other in the arena, and the crowd shouts for Tian. Professor Jiang tells Professor Luo not to worry, as he has warned his student to take it easy and not eliminate Xiu. Professor Luo replies that they still don't know who will win. The presenter announces that the battle will begin. Tian asks if Xiu is going to kneel and beg for mercy. Xiu replies that when he surrenders, he won't show any mercy either. The bully says that if Xiu is looking for the end, he'll make sure he gets eliminated, using his blood seal technique. The presenter says it's unexpected, as Tian used a lethal blow right away. Xiu blocks the strike, but he's injured. With his hand on his neck, Xiu asks, "Is this the power of the sword?" The bully responds that now he understands. Yang asks what to do, as Xiu seems completely dominated. Zhang says not to worry, as Tian won't cause much damage to him. Tian notices that all his movements are being blocked by Xiu, and the power he's unleashing with his sword isn't enough to inflict serious damage. He says he'll see how Xiu blocks this one. Xiu realizes this attack is too strong for him to block, as his buildup is still incomplete. He can only use one move, but wanted to keep it hidden as a trump card. However, he uses the move, releasing several flames. The professor is surprised, wondering if he learned a cultivation technique so quickly. Tian and Xiu attack simultaneously, causing a massive explosion. Xiu is thrown back. The bully stares at him and says that he was able to force Xiu this much. so he should feel honored to have been defeated by him. People watch anxiously, calling out for Shu. Getting up, he tells them not to worry, as he's fine. Notifications arrive, telling him that the growth package is complete and that he earned points. Shu, a bit dazed and with his hand on his head, sees another notification asking if he wants to use the full force attack. He takes off his cold weather jacket and tells the system to add the skill points to strength and physique. Yang asks why Shu is dressed like that, and the professor replies that they are protective training weights for the wrists, legs, and torso. Tian asks how he'd be without the weights, and Shu removes them, tossing them onto the ground. Yang notices the weights are heavy. Shu says that was just a warm-up, as the real battle is about to begin. The bully gets furious, thinking he's been made a fool of from the start, and charges at Shu, saying he'll make him pay for his arrogance. While Shu retaliates with his spear. Tian thinks Shu's strength has increased again, wondering if it's because he took off the weights, while his sword starts to crack. Shu says he felt great attacking until recently, but now it's his turn. The bully replies that he's not afraid. The professor remarks that after removing the weights, Shu seems like a completely different person, and Yang cheers for him, lighting several flames. Tian says it can't be, that someone like Shu can't possibly master such a powerful martial technique, but the protagonist's skill continues to shine. The bully puts his sword in front of him, but it breaks, and he is thrown back. After hitting the ground, Shu approaches, while the announcer asks if Tian has been defeated, and if the weakest student has beaten the top 100 student. Tian has a badly injured hand. He gets up, telling Shu not to think he's been defeated, as he won't lose. He then removes the top part of his outfit, revealing his toned arm muscles and abs, huge muscles. Shu wonders if he's turning into the Hulk, and asks if Tian is taking banned steroids. Tian says he wants to eliminate Shu, and then attacks with the crushing fist technique, striking the ground with such force that it causes an enormous impact. Shu approaches with his spear to attack, but the bully grabs it with ease, saying that today is Shu's end. He kicks him and throws him far, causing Shu to fall hard to the ground, injuring him. As Tian approaches with the spear, Zhu, alert, uses his shattering fists technique and attacks, creating a massive explosion. The protagonist is thrown back. The professor watches and says that the bully used alphas just to defeat Shu. Yang asks what that is, and the professor explains that when the Federation soldiers fought zombies, a drug was created to enhance a combatant's strength for a short period by forcibly absorbing energy to boost their physical strength. However, it damages the bones and muscles of the user, with a severe side effect. It will leave them maimed for the rest of their life. Yang asks if Tian is crazy, willing to become crippled. The professor says that because Tian used a forbidden drug, the fight should be stopped. The announcer is unsure of what to do. Jiang says that there is no rule in the school that prohibits the use of alphas during the battle. The announcer agrees that Jiang is right, and announces that the fight will continue. Professor Jiang is satisfied, but Professor Luo notices something. Observing that Bai, the patriarch of the Tang family, is there, he wonders if the school is trying to please him, and if he will do nothing while Xu is eliminated. Tian continues attacking, throwing Xu away again, saying that without the weapon, Xu is no match for him, and that his crushing fist technique is one of the most powerful attacks. Xu, lying on the ground, gets up and asks what made Tian think that he can only use a spear. He then activates the Fury Discharge ability, moving toward Tian quickly. The bully says he's underestimating him, and they face off, fighting hand to hand. The onlookers wonder if Tian, having used the forbidden drug, shouldn't be at an advantage. Angrily, Tian thinks that he forced Xu to take steroids, and yet he can't stop him. Xu notices that after removing the weights, his potential has increased, and he feels his shattering fists becoming stronger. The bully says his punch technique is more powerful, and Xu thinks he's about to show his true technique. The two face each other, and Xu attacks. Tian says his skin is resistant, and questions if Xu's weak punch will even cause any damage. Xu responds, asking what the problem is with being resistant, as he's attacking the internal organs, causing Tian to scream in pain. The people in the stands recognize the technique and wonder if Xu should have been eliminated or lost both his arms. Kneeling on the ground with his injured arm, Tian wonders how Xu mastered this technique in just 3 days. Xu replies that this is the reality and that he won. But the bully doesn't give up and charges at him again, attempting to attack. Xu blocks and says that since Tian wants to be eliminated, he will grant his wish. Suddenly, someone uses their power and throws Xu far away without touching him. The professor and students rush over, concerned, asking if Xu is okay. Bai says, "How dare you try to eliminate someone from the Tang family?" Xu responds that the Tang family members rely on the help of other family members, and asks, even if it's a martial arts battle, The professor explains that both parties signed an agreement before the fight. Bai says he'll remember the boy. Shu just watches. The announcer declares that Shu is the winner of this battle and is now ranked in the top 100 for power in the school. The next day, someone knocks on Shu's door, asking how long he's going to sleep. As it's already nearly 11 a.m., Shu responds that he's getting up. He opens the door and asks the professor what happened and why he's in such a hurry, as he's very tired after last night's fight. Luo says he has good and bad news and asks which one Shu wants to hear first. Shu says he'll listen to the bad news first. The professor enters the room and tells him that the school wants to punish him. Shu asks why he's the only one being punished. Luo explains that the Tang family is one of the main shareholders of the academy, and this time, Ping had his wrist destroyed, and Tian almost got eliminated by Shu. For high-status people like them, this is a huge and ridiculous humiliation. Since Tian consumed drugs during the martial arts battle in front of everyone, the Tang family can't say anything about the fight, so they used it as an excuse to claim bullying, pressuring the school and asking for a punishment. Shu clenches his fists and curses them, asking what the punishment is. Luo responds that the punishment is to go with the soldiers and participate in the annual extermination operation at the Shining Fortress, explaining the location and that the battle caused a nuclear accident, turning humans and soldiers into mutants, creating an endless horde that threatens the surrounding areas. The city organizes an operation with soldiers every year. Shu wonders if this will make the zombies and beasts even stronger and more numerous, creating a wave of XP. Shu agrees to go, and the professor warns him that it's no joke, with a defeat rate higher than 70%. However, he reassures Shu that he will help reduce the punishment. Shu says he's made his decision and asks what the good news is. Luo stands there with his mouth agape, then puts his hand inside his shirt, saying that he had almost forgotten. He congratulates Shu for making it into the top 100 in the power ranking, and that the reward is a flux of the explosive storm lance. Shu is happy, saying it's a silver martial technique and thanks him. The professor explains that this was the last technique created by Rui, capable of attacking 100 times in just 1 second, which is how it got its name. Not everyone can master it. Shu imagines how incredible it will be to attack 100 times in a second, and has great potential. He stresses that Shu must survive the operation and come back alive. Shu reassures him, saying he'll definitely return alive. As Shu walks away, he thinks that the last battle damaged his clothes, so he'll need to spend some money to buy a new set. He wonders if the military will provide clothes. Suddenly, something approaches, trying to attack him, but he's faster and dodges, crouching down, and asks who's there. A group approaches, complimenting him, saying they didn't expect much, and still can't believe he's not a full-fledged martial artist. Shu thinks that they're all rank 1 martial artists, wondering if they're here to give him XP. He asks if they dare touch him, as this is a part of the city. The bald one says, "What's the problem? We're in the city. If we do it quickly and cleanly, no one will ever know." The bald man attacks, using the ability Piercing Gale Pursuer, and Shu responds, saying that they must be confident they can defeat him. He activates Shattering Fist, injuring the bald man's arm, and he screams in pain. Shu tells him that if he wants to eliminate someone, he must be ready to be eliminated himself. He prepares to attack, but the bald man begs him to wait and try to resolve things through conversation. Without hesitation, Shu continues, landing a punch that knocks the bald man to the ground. Notifications arrive, showing XP gains, and the rest of the group is shocked, realizing that Shu defeated the bald man with just 1 punch. The bald man urges them to attack together, and they charge at Shu. He's quick, and in the blink of an eye, defeats 2 of them with a single blow, earning more XP. The remaining 2 are terrified, saying Shu is too strong, and they flee as fast as they can. Shu thinks that they ran off quickly and wonders who sent them to eliminate him. He believes it could have been the Tang family. Elsewhere, someone is furious, throwing things around. An angry woman appears, saying that 5 rank 1 martial artists ambushed an apprentice martial artist, and that 3 of them were eliminated. The men kneel, apologizing, saying they never expected the kid to be so strong, as he defeated them with just a few punches. The lady asks how they dared try to defeat someone in the city, wondering if they're trying to ruin the Tang family's reputation. Bai enters and tells them to leave. He asks the lady if she thinks no one will figure out what happened if she handles it this way. He tells her that if she hadn't had them clean up the bodies quickly, the investigation unit would have easily figured out they were responsible. The lady responds that she can't stand to see her 2 sons being humiliated, and begins to say various unnecessary things. The madame keeps saying that it was because of Zhu that her son was forced to train on the path of the end. Bai says that he himself caused it, as he knew the drug would have consequences and still chose to use it. He adds that there's no need to worry about it anymore, as he has already pressured the school to punish him. The place has a 70% mortality rate, and he wouldn't care if it increased. The next day, the soldiers are all gathered, doing a roll call. Oyoung asks if he is Shu. He responds that he is, and notices that this soldier is another martial artist who cannot be analyzed by the analyzer eye. Oyoung says it's better for everyone to stay alert and be prepared, hoping that everyone survives this mission. The big guy asks if the protagonist got lost and ended up in the wrong place. The leader tells everyone to shut up because this time, Starshine City will change 4 teams, with a total of 40 participants who joined the hunt. The big guy points to Shu and says it's 39 martial artists, until cans of Coca-Cola are thrown at her, and she faces the big guy, saying that since she's a newbie, she should be training, not talking to her friend. Asks if he's ever heard that curiosity killed the cat. The big guy pulls the box and tells him to shut up. When he grabs it, he notices it's quite heavy. The protagonist gets up, opens the box with his foot, takes his spear out, grabs it, and aims it at him. Jin gets angry and Shu says he forgot to mention that his silver soul needs to see injuries when it's used, touching Jin's throat, saying that a rank 1 martial artist doesn't seem like much. Jin, with his hand on his neck, asks what he said. The protagonist responds that he said he's fucking trash. The big guy grinds his teeth in anger and tries to strike him, saying that Shu wants to be eliminated. However, Shu strikes him first in the face and says that he's too slow. Jin falls to the ground and runs to try to attack him again, until a voice yells at him to stop, asking if he's picking on the newbies again. The blonde guy approaches and says that the kid took him down in 1 punch. The leader says that a rank 1 martial artist was knocked out by a student who hasn't even been officially recognized, asking if he isn't ashamed. He adds that if it were him, he would think about the best way to stay alive. At the Light Fortress, the other 3 squad leaders are heading to the central area of the fortress to deal with more threatening beasts. The leader says the rest of them will operate in 4 groups of 10 and infiltrate the south. Shu asks if she has been here before. Lee answers no, and that she only joined them a year ago. Jin says he hopes the protagonist can keep this long life. Shu tells him not to worry, because he will, and wonders if trash like him, who can't even beat a student, will be able to see the light of the next day. A girl approaches, telling Jin to shut up and put aside his prejudices, not wanting their disunity to put the other members in danger, saying they should go. As they walk, a voice shouts, "Zombies!" A terrifying zombie approaches. Wen moves forward to attack, saying that they are 10 people tasked with eliminating evolved beasts and zombies from the city. Jin says they are just a few first-level zombies and that this mission isn't that hard. She responds that it's only the outskirts of the city, as the higher-level zombies and evolved beasts are closer to the city center. The 10 soldiers walk and notice something's wrong, to attack more, as the second-level zombies are giving a lot of experience. Several zombies approach, and he fights them, defeating them. The soldiers observe, and Lee asks if he's not an official warrior, as he seems stronger than them. The big guy, indignant, saying that his strength and speed have increased. More notifications come in saying that his combat power has increased, and he received the title of Level 1 Warrior, thinking, this is great, and that the Fury energy can only be used 3 times a day, with an 8-hour cooldown. The soldiers keep attacking the zombies. Wen says to prepare for close combat. Then, Shu goes ahead, laughing. The others find it strange, but he runs and attacks them. However, the blonde guy notices more zombies appearing behind them, and there are many. Wen says the number of zombies is huge, and they can't be surrounded, asking them to run. They find a building and tell everyone to take shelter there. While heading to the building, they keep shooting at the zombies. They enter the building. Lee tells the captain and Shu to go quickly because there's a security door that can still be closed. Wen responds that if they run, they won't manage to close the door in time and tells Shu to go first, as she will hold off the zombies. The protagonist pushes her towards the door. She is confused, and he says that he doesn't have the habit of letting women protect him. The captain calls for him, but Jin grabs her arm, pulling her. Wen tells her to let go as the kid is in danger. The big guy asks her to look, and Shu is handling the zombies very well. He uses his martial skill, the 100 birds meeting the phoenix, causing several flames, and the zombies are burned, creating a massive explosion. They watch, mouths agape, asking what technique that is, so strong. Jin tells the kid to get inside quickly. The protagonist enters, and as they go to close the gate, he notices it's heavy, but they manage to close it. Then a strange noise starts, with zombies banging on the gate. Wen says there are too many zombies, and the gate won't hold. The soldier says that the second-floor staircase has a very thick iron door, and the place is narrow, good for defense. The gate is very weakened and being broken, and several zombies approach. Shu says the gate is too weak, and the captain tells them to go upstairs. The zombies approach quickly, and they run, closing the iron gate behind them. The zombies keep trying to get in. Wen tells them to go up first, check, and eliminate any necessary dangers. They go up, and Lee notices something strange. She comes across a mummy and several spider webs in the area. She says it's impossible for it to be a mutant spider staring intently, but something falls onto her back. Jin removes it with his weapon, revealing a spider. The protagonist says it's a level 1 black spider. The big guy says Lee has a coffin mouth because whatever she says happens, and one says it looks like they found a spider nest. The blonde guy tells them to look, and several spiders approach. Wen says they should run to the 3rd floor. When they get there, they encounter more spiders, and several of them come closer. Using her skill, she tells them to go up, still trying to defend. Xiu says the building has 4 floors, and the staircase can lead to the rooftop, asking them to go there. Then, they attack, driving the spiders away and heading for the rooftop. Lee closes the door and says she's dying of exhaustion, and the captain tells them to recharge and rest for a bit, since the zombies should disperse on their own. The protagonist observes and Wen approaches, saying there are many zombies around the building. Then, they spot a level 2 sharp-toothed dog, and there are several of them, starting to attack the zombies. The soldiers are confused, as the dogs and the zombies are fighting in a group brawl. They keep watching. Wen says the zombies on the 1st floor must have been drawn outside, so now is their chance to leave. While the protagonist wonders why the evolved beasts are attacking the zombies, the captain tells everyone to organize their equipment to prepare to go down. Lee asks if they're just going to leave like this, and she responds that first. They'll get out of the encirclement, then reorganize outside and continue with the extermination mission. They go down and notice the presence of a few, so they chase after them and quietly eliminate them. Xiu observes and says they are safe. Then, they run while the zombies and dogs are still fighting. However, they stop, and the dogs notice their presence but think they haven't been discovered until one dog approaches, trying to attack. The protagonist manages to defeat it. Wen attacks another dog with her Void Slash, and the other soldiers attack it too. Jin asks if they're done, but Xiu notices a level 3 dog approaching with a zombie in its mouth. Wen says that's their leader, and the protagonist confirms. Then, the leader throws the zombie away, and Xiu tells them to be careful, as the dog is heading toward a soldier, wondering why it's faster than the previous dogs. The leader attacks using a bloodlust technique. It's a furious strike surrounded by an aura, as it's a special skill of the leader. However, Xiu thinks he didn't imagine the evolved beasts would have such a powerful ability. Telling them to get away, suddenly a very strong explosion happens, throwing the protagonist into the wall. He starts coughing and says that even though he retreated quickly, he still got hurt. But fortunately, he received the system notification. Otherwise, he would already be eliminated. The soldiers stand up, and the dog approaches, jumping near them. Xiu asks if more are coming, and attacks it with his skill, causing a very strong explosion. The protagonist screams, and a notification arrives saying that the dog was eliminated. Xiu feels relieved, and the soldiers are surprised that he managed to eliminate a rank 3 beast. But then they notice something different. They encounter a giant monster approaching along with the zombie leader. Xiu says that the scream that caused the zombie siege must have come from him. The leader approaches the dog, puts his hand inside it, rips out its core, and swallows it, looking satisfied. The soldiers watch, confused. Then, the protagonist observes with his analyzer eye that the zombie has evolved to level 3. Wen asks if it can evolve. Xiu runs, and says they need to stop him before he finishes, but says he was only able to perform 3 attacks, which is still too little. He tells himself to try again, and does so, but only manages 3 attacks, which isn't enough. He then manages 4 attacks, but it's still not enough. Jin says that not only does he learn martial arts skills in battle, but he understands them quickly. Wen responds that martial arts skills are improved through constant battles, and maybe it's because of his obsession and determination that he has such strong willpower at his age. He says they can't be outdone by a student, asking them to go all out. Even though they can't compete with this monster, they can't fall behind. Xiu continues attacking the zombies and says that 5 attacks are his limit with the spear for now. He says he's already emptied all the flasks, and now it's the leader's turn. Using the skill, the leader tries to defend, causing an explosion, but the zombie remains intact because he completed his evolution. The protagonist says that although the strength isn't as great as that of a level 3 dog, this special skill is annoying because the leader's skin is extremely tough. Using his analyzer eye, he observes that the zombie leader has evolved and says that he has no choice but to go all out. The zombie and he face off, and Xiu attacks him with his spear, delivering several strikes. He says that if he doesn't defeat him quickly, the leader will keep calling more zombies. With no other choice, he tries the Fury Strike, taking on a terrifying aura. While the leader withstood the normal version of the rain, Now he'll see him deal with the Fury version. Still attacking, the leader starts retreating, and Zhu says it's working. Thinking that, entering a Fury state with improved abilities, he feels like he and the spear are one. Then, he uses his supreme skill with the spear, causing a storm-like explosion of petals. Wen, indignant, says that although it's just one strike, it's more than twice as strong as the 5 previous rapid strikes. An explosion is heard, and a notification arrives saying that he has eliminated the leader and leveled up to level 13, adding 13 strength points to his power. With his last effort, he finishes eliminating the rest of the zombies. Then, he strikes again, and several notifications arrive, saying that he has defeated them, showing the zombies lying on the ground. Jin comments that it's been a long time since he fought so intensely, and Lee says that if it weren't for Shu, they would all be eliminated by now, and thanks him. The protagonist replies that now they are all battle brothers. Wen asks if he used any medicine, as his strength suddenly increased. Shu says not to worry, he didn't take any medicine and that it was just one of his abilities. Wen says that during the fight, she was only able to inflict a few wounds on him, asking how his last strike was so strong. He replies that he doesn't know, but at that moment, he felt as if he became one with the spear. The captain asks if he has comprehended a supreme skill, and he is curious to know more. She explains that it is when you train and understand a technique so deeply that you can unleash its maximum power, and even the most basic skill can become as powerful as a silver skill if you comprehend the supreme skill. However, reaching a supreme skill is not easy, as it requires a deep understanding of the technique and a bit of luck. Hundreds of people train the same technique, but only a few will reach the supreme skill. Zhu says that it's incredible because if he truly comprehended the supreme skill, then he can use a power comparable to a supreme skill. The captain says that it's already getting dark, so they will spend the night on the roof of the building. At nightfall, they sit around the campfire, roasting the meat of the level 3 dog. The protagonist finds the meat delicious, and one says that he has no experience with expeditions, but the meat from these evolved beasts is tasty, and not contaminated or infected. Zhu asks if the captain has ever heard of the sanctuary. She responds that he's probably referring to the Sanctuary Academy, and explains that it's a warrior academy that surpasses the 5 major academies, being the strongest of them all. The protagonist asks if the sanctuary is a university, and Wen says that the minimum requirement to enter is for a student to be at level 2 as a warrior. The blonde complains, saying that he is still at level 1. Xiu remembers Luo and thinks that it's nothing. With the system, reaching level 2 is just a matter of time for him, and he can't wait to become a warrior and see the girl's expression. The soldiers walk, and the captain says that they need to clear the rest of the zombies and evolved beasts because they are truly finished. Lee points and asks what that is, seeing beasts crawling on the wall. With his analyzer eye, the protagonist identifies them as rank 2 zombies. He says they're good at scaling rooftops. The big guy says that they're crawling like snails. They start shooting, and Shu asks them not to shoot recklessly. The shot almost hits the zombie, but it manages to dodge. Jin says that it barely avoided being hit in the vital spots. The protagonist responds that they are faster than they appear. Lin asks, if they are so fast, why do their movements seem slow? He answers that it's probably so their prey lowers their guard. The zombies notice their presence and approach. The captain asks them to be on guard and the zombies run quickly. They keep shooting with their weapons, but as the zombies get closer, Wen orders them to eliminate them with their blades. She attacks with her strike, and the soldiers continue attacking. Suddenly, a zombie appears behind the blonde and attacks him. The captain calls his name and says that they are coming from above. They begin fighting non-stop. Xiu tries to dodge and tells the captain that he suggests they retreat to an area with enclosed spaces so they can't be reached from the higher ground they have. She responds that it's a good idea and tells everyone to run and regroup in the area they passed through before. Still running, they stop in a forest and find themselves surrounded by zombies. The captain says that if they don't want to be eliminated, now is the time to take a stand. They then run to attack. After a while of fighting, they manage to defeat them. Jin says that he can't believe they managed to eliminate so many zombies, and Lee says that she's sure that this is their last group. Tired, the protagonist drinks some water. Out of breath, he thinks that it was very exhausting, and if it weren't for the experience, he wouldn't even be bothering with it. Suddenly, an attack comes out of nowhere, but he blocks it, bonds that he is a soldier of the Federation, and his act of aggression means he's antagonized the rest of the squad. The boy says she will be eliminated, shouting. She gets into an attack position, and the two begin to fight, causing an explosion that throws her back. The rest of the soldiers are concerned and ask how he dares lay a finger on their leader. The boy uses his ability, High-Speed Whirlwind. The soldiers are frightened by the aura. The protagonist observes and starts running. The boy calls him a coward, saying that he abandoned his comrades and ran, asking if he thinks he can escape him. He chases after Shu. Lin asks if this is ever going to end. Wen stands up and says they can't leave Shu alone with him. Jin asks what they're doing there, and if they can't do more since Shu is dominating the fight to avoid involving them. The captain grabs her sword and says it won't be solved if they just stand there, and that anyone who dares lay a finger on their squadmates will pay. The boy jumps in front of the protagonist and asks where he thinks he's going. Shu asks who said he was going to run away, and since there's no one to bother them, they can finish this. The boy, enraged, says that he's going to be eliminated, shouting. The protagonist asks if he was sent by the Tang family. The tough guy asks, "So what? What if I return to the Tang family? Does it matter to anyone that I'll be eliminated soon?" He replies that he's right about understanding the situation, but before that, he's going to teach him a short but useful lust from the boy is enough to give him chills. He notices that the dodge was very unusual, wondering if it's some kind of rare skill. The protagonist grabs his spear, while the tough guy grabs his weapon, and they begin attacking each other. The boy tries to land a hit, but Shu dodges and attacks with his spear. However, both are quite agile, and manage to dodge each other's attacks. The boy says that he didn't expect this, and that Shu isn't so bad, but still not good enough. Then, he jumps and begins attacking with multiple blades. The protagonist thinks that there were so many attacks in one moment that he remembers his own ability, but some of them are illusions. Not all of them are real. The boy says that he's going to show what it's like to have power beyond measure, causing an extremely strong aura, followed by an explosion, going directly to attack the boy. But the boy uses his ability and attacks, pushing him into the wall and holding him there. He says that it's over for Shu. Shu responds that it's fine, satisfied. The boy steps back, shocked, because his abdomen has a severe wound, and says it's impossible since he knows he dodged 4 of the strikes. The protagonist responds that he always knew the boy was there from the start, thinking that the system notifies him, and it's not like he can turn it off. Pressed against the wall, he says that he's always been able to push up to 5 times and saves the last one just for himself. The boy says that's quite discreet, but is interrupted by Shu, who attacks him with his spear. A notification appears saying that he has eliminated a martial artist, and the system congratulates him for leveling up. Shu asks the system to put 10 points into physics and 4 into strength, thinking that even though he recovered from leveling up, his injuries aren't fully healed. Then, he thinks that it's better to find a way to heal himself. Voices call his name, and the soldiers approach, asking if he's okay. Shu thinks they are brave, as even though he's a level 3 martial artist, they still came after him. He then falls face first onto the ground. As night falls, they are on the rooftop with a barbecue and a cabin. The protagonist is inside the cabin lying down, and when he opens his eyes, he sits up and exits. Wen says he finally woke up and asks if he's okay. Shu responds that it's just a flesh wound and thanks them. Li says she can't believe he defeated a level 3 martial artist, and that he was a criminal who broke the law and has a warrant out for his arrest by Starlight. Li bets that he would be well paid for handing over the criminal's head. The captain says that if he's badly injured, even though first aid was applied, he will need at least 1 more day of rest before he's back to perfect form. After that, they present several defeated zombies. A month later, they've finished defeating the zombies, and Jin says he's sure they've been to hell and back. He sighs deeply, and wonders who the lucky winner of the lottery would be to end up as the chicken dinner. Wen says that without Shu with them, they wouldn't have had a chance. Li approaches the protagonist and says that, as his senior, she's so proud. Jin says that if he needs him, he'll be there. A voice asks if they're from the Alliance, and a group approaches, with a young man saying that now he remembers, it's the annual zombie and evolved beast cleaning operation. He says they've made good profits there, and it would be a shame if anything happened to their masters. The captain says he knows they're soldiers of the Alliance and asks if, despite that, they're still trying to rob them. Using his analytical eye, Shu identifies everyone and tells Wen to step back, as there's a level 3 martial artist among them. Zhou, the leader, tells Shu to shut up and says they're getting on his nerves. The protagonist notices he's approaching his direction. Zhou points his sword and says this is between the two of them, and he'll leave the rest to them. The captain asks if he's a lone wolf. The soldiers are startled, and Wen says that in a fight, many of their comrades were defeated by him. They know they're from the Alliance, and they dare make a move. Zhou says that if he sees people like her, he will cut her down. So that's the kind of person he is. The captain says she will eliminate him, but Shu holds her back and says the redhead is his. He asks if the Tang family sent him here and says that this never ends. He also asks if the other guy couldn't defeat him. What chance does this guy have? Zhou says he shouldn't be compared to people like him, as both of them are in 3rd place. Smashing his sword on the ground with an enormous aura, he says he can go even further. The ground cracks, and Shu thinks that this sword seems very heavy and is getting bigger every second. They begin to fight, and the captain tells them to be quick, as Shu is waiting for them. Then, they attack the group together. The protagonist uses his torrential flower ability, but the redhead dodges with his sword and says that Shu can't hurt him unless he puts in 10 times more effort per second. He then says he will show them what true martial skill is. Using the ability Silver and Crescent Dark Moon, Shu thinks that this strike was very strong, and at this rate, he'll end up being eliminated. He then uses his Rage ability, and an explosion occurs. The captain watches and is concerned about him. Jin asks the protagonist to respond. Joe says he was completely blown up. His shadow appears in the smoke, and Shu, positioning himself, thinks that maybe he played poorly, and if he hadn't activated his rage at the last second, he would have been eliminated. The lone wolf approaches and says it looks like he's using a forbidden drug, but it doesn't matter because he's feeling motivated. He tries to attack with his sword, but Jiu defends with his spear, thinking that even with his rage he can barely compete with this guy, wondering if he really is elite in the elite class. Joe says that this kid can definitely handle it, but this isn't his true ability, and he causes an extremely strong red aura. Shu thinks he has a bad feeling about this. The redhead keeps attacking, using his martial skill to glide. Satisfied with the first cut, the protagonist tries to hold his ground but is thrown far away, causing a huge explosion. He falls to the ground and starts coughing. As he gets up, he thinks that the force was so strong that his silver soul, forged from Star Ocean minerals, took damage. Joe, still unharmed, uses his 3 bars ability to keep attacking and rushes toward him. Shu says that he didn't want to use his hidden trump card yet, but it seems there's no other choice. He then attacks with his torrential flower skill. The redhead laughs and says he already warned him that one attack is useless against him. The protagonist replies not to worry, as he has more in store. Using his 100 bird skill, he causes several flames. Joe is shocked and creates a huge explosion, throwing Shu into the wall. The redhead says this is bad for him, and unfortunately for Shu, each of his cuts can absorb the opponent's martial ability and grow stronger. He says that Shu's last attack was quite powerful, but his will be even stronger. Using the 3 assassins strike, the protagonist realizes this is dangerous, and he might be eliminated here, but he remains confident and says he won't be defeated here. He has felt this way before, wondering if it's because he's on the brink of death, or if it's due to using rage, with all his attributes increased. He feels a mysterious sensation, as if the spear is an extension of his body. A strong aura is released, and he says he will show the true power of torrential flower. Creating a powerful aura, he uses torrential bloom, crouching down. Meanwhile, Joe can't believe how this is possible. It's the same martial technique as before, but this time, injured, he says it can't be a definitive technique. He falls to the ground, and notifications appear saying that a martial artist has been eliminated, and Shu's level has increased to 15. Shu is happy with level 15, but as he tries to run, he falls face first to the ground. The transport plane is in motion. Meanwhile, the protagonist is lying in bed, slightly disoriented, and opens his eyes. Wen asks if he's awake, as he slept the whole day. Shu asks if they are on the aircraft. She replies yes, and that the cleaning operation is over, so they're heading back. She hands him a card. The protagonist asks what it is, and the captain says that the card contains 3 million Alliance coins, as his reward for eliminating Joe. She also says she nominated him. Shu thanks her, and says he'll be able to fix his equipment now. She says she passed the money to him, and isn't even thinking about reimbursing him, calling him a cheapskate. The protagonist feels embarrassed and says it's all thanks to her, asking how he can repay the favor. Wen touches his hand and says she didn't give much to it. Moving closer, she asks if he's willing to pay with his body. He, flustered, responds that he's still a high school student and needs to focus on his studies. The captain steps back and says he's so clueless. To change the subject, Shu asks what day it is. She replies that it's the 12th and asks why. Shu gets up from the bed and says that today is the last day of the exam period, so he needs to hurry. She tells him not to worry, as it's 4 in the morning, and they will definitely make it in time. They arrive at the military academy's airport, and the leader announces the squads and the number of casualties and survivors. As they approach their squad, he thanks everyone for their hard work during the cleaning operation, and the superior said to award each of them a medal. Shu observes and thinks that he'll receive a military medal from the Federation, and each medal has a unique identification code. Having a medal brings all kinds of benefits in daily life, to the point that even the police have to be careful how they treat you. The chief approaches him and says that his performance in this operation was truly exceptional, and because of him, the squad's survival rate was the highest. He even eliminated a level 3 dog and 2 wanted criminals all by himself. The soldiers are surprised that Zhu was able to eliminate a 3 RD level martial artist. The captain praises him for his skill and strength, asking if he is interested in joining their army. The protagonist responds that he is hesitant to accept, but is still in high school, and plans to continue his studies and attend college. The captain laughs and says he had forgotten that Xiu is just a student, but mentions that if he is interested in joining them after graduating from college, he would be welcome. Wen becomes interested in him, as he is concerned about his studies yet demonstrates the ability to defeat a rank 3 martial artist. Xiu says goodbye with a hug to Li, and the captain asks if he isn't going to say goodbye to her. Then she hugs him and says, "Who would have imagined that a guy so fierce in battle would be so shy? You should visit us, no matter how your status may change in the future. Don't forget the comrades who fought by your side until the end." Meanwhile, at the academy, the end-of-term competition is underway. The announcer welcomes the 20 participants to the arenas. The professor thinks that the protagonist hasn't arrived yet, and worries that if he doesn't participate, he will be expelled. Yang asks where he went to train, as it has been a while since he left and hasn't returned. Luo suggests waiting a little longer while they watch the fight. One student is thrown out of the arena, and the medical team rushes to help him. The announcer announces the winner, Tian, who easily defeated his opponent Liang, ranked 98th in the Academy's power ranking. The students in the stands discuss how Tian trained in the Path of Demise, a place with a 90% mortality rate. Then, the announcer calls out for the next participant, Xiu, asking him to enter Arena 15. The professor grows more concerned as he hasn't arrived yet. The announcer asks if Xiu is at the location. Meanwhile, his opponent, Chen, wonders how strong this guy really is. The announcer says that if Xiu doesn't enter Arena 15 within the next 10 seconds, he will be disqualified. Xiu responds that there's no need for that, and leaps, landing in the arena. The professor is relieved that he has arrived. Yang comments that Xiu is always late, but always makes a dramatic entrance. Zhang mentions that it's been a month since he last saw him, and notes that he seems stronger now. Tian watches and asks if Xiu wasn't eliminated by the Fortress of Light, and says that this is perfect, because now he can defeat him with his own hands. The announcer announces that the battle is about to begin. Chen approaches Yu and asks if he is the trash from Class 29, telling him not to think he got lucky defeating Tian because the same thing will happen to him. Xiu shows his pinky finger and says that Chen isn't even in the top 100 of the ranking, and that weaklings like him aren't worth the effort. Chen gets angry. The announcer signals for the match to begin. Chen, weapon in hand, approaches to attack, but Xiu easily blocks. Chen is outraged by this. With a kick, Xiu knocks him down and says that he doesn't even need a weapon to defeat him. Lying on the ground, Chen wipes his mouth and curses. He gets up and attacks with his martial skill, but Xiu says it's his turn now and uses his explosive crack skill, causing a small explosion. Chen wonders how Xiu's punches are so powerful and says that this can't be. Someone like him underestimated him. Then, Chen attacks again with his silver martial skill, 3,000 high steps. The people in the stands are impressed by this special skill, as Xiu forced Chen to use a skill that drains his stamina, while Zhu is still fighting barehanded. The protagonist thinks to himself that he is enjoying his martial skills, as they consist of 9 forms, and he easily dodges them, charging his rage meter. Since there's only 1 or 2 matches per day, the cooldown time isn't a problem. Xiu then attacks with his explosive fist skill, with bare hands. After the protagonist exits the arena, people gather around to congratulate him. Yang asks where he was the whole month, and why he didn't take him along to train. Zhu responds that he went to a dangerous place, and bringing Yang would only slow him down. The redhead jumps on him and starts teasing, asking what he just said, and the professor laughs. Then, Xiu is observing the system, as after defeating Zhou, he couldn't check his stats after leveling up. He notices that he has unlocked the skill, Feign, which can hide his energy flow and make him appear as an ordinary person, distracting others. He also unlocked a genetic lock. He thinks he didn't expect so many updates, and that this Feign skill is clearly meant to deceive opponents, making them think he's weaker than he actually is. Additionally, he has finally unlocked a genetic lock. Looking at the process to unlock this lock, he sees that the chance of failure is high. 10% chance of elimination, 20% chance of losing consciousness, and 30% chance of failure to unlock. He thinks it's not worth risking his life on such a gamble, so he decides to put the 15 potential skill points into strength. The announcer calls Zhu back for another battle. Lin, the Academy's dean, observes the battle between the protagonist and his opponent and ponders. He hadn't thought Xiu would return alive from the cleanup operation at the fortress, and yet he came back stronger. Now he wonders how he will face the Tang family. He thinks that putting him against one of his most powerful opponents who could publicly defeat him would be enough, and that he shouldn't have messed with the Tang family. After the fight, everyone watches the top 100 finalists. Yang says he hopes Xiu's opponents will be martial arts beginners, and Xiu replies that as long as they aren't anyone ranked in the top 10. Then they notice that the protagonist will face the opponent ranked 8th. They get irritated. Xiu looks and asks, "Gu, number 8. Yang says he's a senior ranked in combat, and often goes to areas infested with zombies and evolved beasts to gain battle experience. Meanwhile, Zheng comments that he is facing Tian in his first match and heard that he is stronger now. The professor approaches them and says it won't be easy to defeat both opponents, so he asks them to be careful. One of the staff members announces that Ye is there and asks for him to be welcomed. Ye greets them, and the staff member comments that he arrived earlier than expected, asking if he is eager to see the strength of his students. Ye asks Li to bring the record of his best students. The man says he's in no hurry, and is more interested in the top 100 competition, suggesting they watch the matches first. The announcer then calls participants Zhang and Tian to Arena 15. Tian asks if Zhang is from Class 29, and Zhang responds yes, acknowledging that Tian is strong, but he won't admit defeat easily. The blonde replies that there's no need for Zhang to admit, dodges and grabs his arm, dislocating it and knocking the sword out of his hand. Stepping on Zhang's back and holding his arm, Tian says it's not over yet, and that he will break all of Zhang's limbs. Then a voice tells him to stop. Xiu approaches and attacks Tian, saying the problem is with him, and that Tian shouldn't hurt his comrade. Tian replies not to worry, as he will destroy Xiu the next time they face each other, and Xiu will feel extreme pain as he slowly defeats him. The protagonist remembers who tried to eliminate him, and says he has scores to settle with him as well. When the time comes, it won't even matter if it's Tian's father, because he'll make Tian beg for his life. The announcer asks which class Xiu is from, reminding him that interrupting a match is not allowed. Xiu asks if, as a professor, he would just watch a student get beaten until they are eliminated. The announcer gets angry and says that since neither side has admitted defeat, the match is not over yet, and asks for Zhang to be taken to the doctor. The nurse asks Xiu to take Zhang to the stretcher, and the announcer announces Tian as the winner. The protagonist asks why he hasn't seen the doctor in the past few days. She replies that he must have missed her, and since the competition is today, things were bound to get intense. She was worried about him, and came in case anything happened. Lying on the stretcher, Zhang raises his hand, his eyes filled with tears, and says he can't accept this, as the thought of being defeated with a single strike is unbearable. He warns Zhu to be careful when facing him again. Zhu says he will teach him a lesson. The announcer then calls Yu and Gu to enter Arena 9. The protagonist says it's his turn and walks over. People around him wish him good luck, and as he walks, he finds his opponent already in the arena. The dean observes the match. Once in the arena, Gu asks if Xiu is the infamous one. Using his analyzer eye, Xiu notes that Gu reached rank 2 at only 18 years old, and his overall strength is similar to Zhou's. He realizes it's no Gu managed to make a hole with just one blow. Still holding the hammer over the ground, Gu says that no matter how fast Xiu is, he won't be able to avoid having his head crushed by the hammer. He promises a painless elimination. The announcer narrates that this was a fierce strike and asks if Lin will be able to keep his position. Yang asks if Xiu is going against Gu, and says it's a death sentence. The nurse tells him to shut up, and Yang flips him off. The redhead responds that anyone with eyes can clearly see Xiu is going to lose, and if he wins, he'll eat the arena. The doctor says he won't be able to take back his words later. Gu raises his hammer to strike again, but Xiu dodges, and the hammer hits the ground. Gu asks if that's all Xiu knows how to do, and tells him to just accept defeat. Then, the protagonist uses his torrential flower skill. The large man is outraged and defends, but is wounded by the spear. The redhead gets angry upon seeing Gu injured. The nurse observes with satisfaction and asks if Zhu has figured out how to put the whole arena in his mouth. The redhead says Gu hasn't fought seriously yet. Gu laughs, turns with his hand on his shoulder, and says it wasn't too bad but is getting and uses his skill, releasing a massive aura. Gathering origin energy, Lin is alarmed, and a terrifying explosion occurs. Still attacking, Gu uses his mountain origin energy. Unable to move, he realizes there's no way to dodge, so he decides to give it his all. He then uses his homage to 1,000 birds and torrential flower skills. The announcer asks what technique that was, and the staff member suggests it might have been a combination of 2 skills. Ye is impressed and says that thinking the boy can use his martial skills like this. Another terrifying explosion happens, and the protagonist steps back, coughing and wounded. Gu laughs and says it's fine. It's been so long since a fight has been this exciting, and as a reward, he'll crush Xiu's head with his hammer, asking if that wouldn't be fun. Xiu is alarmed as the large man uses his martial skill Stilver and Fierce Tiger attack. The redhead watches and says that Gu has finally used the elimination attack. The nurse screams for Lin to leave the ring. Gu continues attacking. The redhead says Zhu didn't even try to dodge the attack and is probably crushed. The blonde responds that he could have just jumped out of the arena. Yang and the professor are worried. The doctor is also concerned. The large man yells, saying now he'll see if Zhu is still alive after this. The protagonist appears, coughing, saying he was almost crushed, and wonders why he always ends up facing the worst opponents. Gu, outraged, asks how this is possible and how Zhu is still alive. Lin says he's sorry to disappoint him, but now he's done warming up. He then attacks. Gu asks if it's that skill again and says it's meaningless. He blocks, and Zhu continues attacking. They exchange powerful blows. The large man asks what happened to this kid and why he suddenly got so strong. Using the Stormhammer skill, Gu says he won't lose. Then they keep fighting. The professor observes and says they're both going all out. Yang says it seems like Lin is struggling to keep up with his opponent's pace. The nurse tells him to shut up, saying she doesn't know anything. Still fighting, Gu gets more frustrated and asks if this is possible. Using the Fierce Lion skill, Zhu attacks with his blade, saying this is the end for him, using the charged attack. The two clash, and the protagonist stops with his spear at his opponent's neck, saying he's won. Yang cheers happily for his friend, and the nurse asks the redhead how he would like to eat the arena, asking if he prefers it raw, fried, or steamed. The dean stands up, thinking he can't believe Lin won. The announcer raises Zhu's arm, and people start chanting his name. Gu, injured, gets up and throws a pocket bomb. Then, he gets scared, causing an extremely strong explosion. The large man falls and laughs, saying that for sure, that eliminated him, and that it serves him right. But Zhu is protected by Mr. Ye with a shield. It was a high-level technique that uses spherical origin energy, and only martial artists of level 6 or above can release origin energy within their bodies and use it to create a shield that protects them from any attack. Ye asks if Zhu is hurt. He wonders if this old man is a high-level martial artist and answers that he's fine and thanks him. Mr. Ye says he's happy to see him okay and encourages him to keep up the good work because he sees potential in him. He then tells Gu that he knows he wants to win at all costs, but using underhanded techniques against his peers is crossing the line. The dean approaches and asks if Ye is all right. Ye responds, asking if this is what they consider outstanding students. The dean apologizes, saying he has no tolerance for such malicious behavior from his students and will ensure proper discipline. Zhu thinks that, from the dean's flattery, Mr. Ye must be a good person. The doctor approaches and lifts his shirt, asking if he's hurt anywhere. He answers that he's fine and asks where she's putting her hands, as he already told her he's okay. The professor approaches and says that tomorrow's matches will be postponed due to this unexpected event, and asks Zhu to treat his injuries, then go back to the dorm to rest and recover. The protagonist asks who Ye is. Luo responds that he's not sure but thinks Ye is the supervisor of one of the 5 main academies and is here for an evaluation. Lin says he can't wait to become a martial artist like him. In the student dorm, Zhu is in his room and notices that, besides the monthly lottery the system conducts, he received another as a reward for reaching level 15. Now, he has 2 chances. He tells the system to spin the wheel. He hopes for a big prize. When the wheel stops, he gets frustrated, as it's a silver martial arts skill card for knives, and he doesn't even use knives. Then, the system detects an excess of martial arts skill cards, activating the synthesis system, which uses any 3 skill cards of the same level to merge them into one. Zhu gets excited and says he can't wait to try this new feature, and he still has to spin for the rest, so he tells the system to spin the wheel again. Hoping for a gift pack, he's delighted when he finally gets one. After opening it, Zhu finds the cards Piercing Blaze, Celestial Cut, and Glacial Strike. Zhu isn't surprised, as Piercing Blaze uses the body's strength and agility to deliver a fatal blow, which is no different from a charged attack. He believes his Torrential Flower is much more useful in terms of speed. Now, with 3 silver martial skill cards, he decides to try out the new system. The system asks him to select the type of martial skill to synthesize. Asking if he wants to synthesize, Zhu presses yes. The system then draws another card. He gets the silver martial skill card Spear Weapon Arts Judgment. Lin says it seems amazing, and that it's time to learn. It's a skill that reflects the opponent's attacks and martial arts back to them, consumes great energy, and has strict conditions for use. The protagonist gets excited, as everyone tries to block attacks, but now he has a skill that can reflect them. The announcer calls for Zhu in the arena, and Fel asks if he's ready. Lin responds affirmatively, thinking he never imagined he'd face a girl. Fel leaves a lipstick mark. She tells the referee she surrenders. Match. Yang says he's never been in this kind of situation. The nurse gets angry, asking how the girl dares to seduce her precious little one right in front of her. Yang asks if Lin didn't like it, and Lin gives him the middle finger. Suddenly, someone tugs at his shirt, and when he notices, it's the nurse who pulled him and kissed him. Xiu covers his mouth who they are. The professor says Ju is ranked 12th in the academy, while Jiang is 10th, and from what he knows, the two are friends, so the match will turn into a 2v1. Xiu the attack sent against him, and that they've studied the match, so they know all of Xiu's skills. He lists the skills he learned from the protagonist and attacks with the broken claws of heaven, saying Xiu has no chance of winning. Ju also attacks with his silver martial skill Steel Bat Spin. The people in the stands notice that the skills both are using are their strongest. The nurse says they're shameless, teaming up against Xiu and using their most powerful techniques. Lin notices and asks if Jiang's skill can repel attacks. He says it's a coincidence because he has a similar skill. Using judgment, he faces both and attacks. Jiang gets scared, being attacked and thrown far away. Xiu says now it's Ju's turn. Using the charged attack and torrential flower, Xiu causes a huge impact and explosion. Both fall to the ground. The announcer approaches to check the opponent's pulses, raises Yu's arm, and announces him as the winner. The people cheering for him are happy. The dean thinks it's unfortunate but that Xiu won again. Tang asks to be matched up against him. The dean says he'll do it immediately. Tang says Xiu is acting pretty arrogantly and that all the pain he endured on his way to the end will make sure Xiu gets everything back in double. The announcer says the match now will decide the 6 finalists, and the first match is Xiu against Tian. People comment that Xiu defeated Tian in the past, and that both have become stronger, so it will be a risky competition. They wonder if Tian has been affected by the drug he took, and mention that Xiu has walked the path to the end and trained for an entire month. Yang shouts for Lin to make sure to teach him a risky lesson this time. The protagonist looks and gives a thumbs-up gesture. Tang's younger brother says that this time Lin will definitely be eliminated. Yang asks if he came to watch his brother get defeated. Tang's brother gets upset and says they can't imagine the suffering his brother endured on the path, and that he did all of that to defeat Xiu. Tian, in the arena, says that time flies, and he's here again, facing him. But this time, he will make sure to eliminate him. With his analyzing eye, Lin observes that Tian is now a rank 2 martial artist, and his overall battle strength is even greater than Gu's. Lin says the same goes for him, mentioning that Tian's father made it clear when he sent assassins after him, and that he won't stop until any of them are eliminated. Tian approaches, standing face to face with Lin. They stare each other down, and Lin thinks that Tian's raw sword power is no joke. The blonde says he spent 100 million coins on his sword, forged from a special metal, and that Lin's weapon is pathetic and worthless compared to his. He claims he spent a lot of money to buy the sword to defeat Lin, technique, and he responds that it's impossible, that one would need to be a rank 3 martial artist to practice such a skill. Tang's brother asks who said it's impossible and warns that Lin better be prepared for a funeral. Tian uses his skill, Earth Split Slice, attacking Lin, and says he still has one more attack. He attacks again with Explosive Fist, pushing Lin and causing severe injuries. Lin thinks that Tian's Explosive Fist is much stronger than last time, and that, now being able to use body techniques, it means he's likely met the criteria to become a rank 3 martial artist. Lin can't even use Rage yet because of the cooldown, so he needs to come up with another way to win the match. Tian approaches and says that Lin is as weak as always, while the protagonist tries to think. Using his skill tribute to 100 birds, Lin asks if Tian still thinks he's afraid of that martial skill. Using more skills, Tian says he not only spent money on his sword, but also on various skill cards, all to find the perfect attack against Lin. Attacking with Cloudburst Torrent and then Traction, he creates multiple flames, dissipating Xiu's attack. The people in the stands are shocked. The protagonist thinks that this is his second encounter with a skill that can neutralize tribute to 1,000 birds. Telling him to try again, he asserts that Tian won't be able to do the same with the next attack. Using Torrential Flower along with tribute to 1,000 birds, Lin prepares. Tian says he's welcome to try, attacking again with Torrential Torrent. The two fight intensely, creating a terrifying aura, and soon after, an explosion. But Lin notices that Tian really did dissipate the attack. The blonde laughs and says that now it's his turn. He steps forward, using bloody flames. The protagonist tries to defend with judgment, but his spear breaks and falls to the ground. The people get worried. Xiu notices he couldn't reflect the martial skill with judgment, and this only happens when there's a huge gap in strength. Without thinking twice, Tian rushes forward, attacking with his sword. But Lin blocks with the charged attack, counterattacking and throwing Tian back. Tian says he shouldn't have dodged his sword, and that he would have been eliminated without pain, and a single of Lin's attributes are increased, and the system congratulates him for unlocking it, leveling him up to a rank 2 martial artist. The announcer says Tian is the winner, but the people in the stands raise their hands, indicate because of him that he became half robot, half human. To cultivate, he went to the path and lost all his limbs to a monster there. having to become a kind of cyborg to survive. Although this transformation gives him power equivalent to a rank 3 martial artist, that's his limit, and in this life, he can't get any stronger. And that's all thanks to him, as he approaches to attack again. Lin strikes him in the abdomen and says he's only to blame for himself several strikes. Yang shouts for him to beat him until the end. Tang's younger brother shouts for him to stop. Xu continues attacking with multiple punches, causing injuries, and still relentlessly continues attacking. The announcer tells him to stop since Tian is already unconscious. The protagonist lets go of him and steps back. The announcer raises Lin's arm and declares him the winner. The nurse says that it happened that he was defeated twice. Tang's brother says Tian demonstrated the power of a rank 3 martial artist, but his opponent is too strong. The dean is in disbelief. Ye says that's exactly it. Tian, with his hand in his pocket, stands up and pulls out a syringe. Running up behind Lin, Xu grabs his arm, and the announcer tells him it's over and asks what he has in his hand. Tian responds that it's a gift he brought back from the path to the end, especially for him, a virus, and that just one drop is enough to turn him into a zombie. The announcer orders him to stop right now, as he's breaking the law. The blonde laughs and says that his goal is to turn Lin into a zombie. The blonde starts screaming no, transforming into a monster. Then, Xu grabs the blade of his spear with his foot and kicks it, defeating him. Tang's younger brother shouts no. A voice approaches, saying to return. When did they have a rank 6 in the city? He says he will take Lin to the police station because he eliminated his son, and asks him not to interfere. Ye disagrees, saying that from what he saw, it was Xu eliminating a corpse that had already mutated, for the safety of the academy, and asks if it's illegal to eliminate zombies. Bai stays quiet, and his servant approaches, asking to take Tian's body back. The man says that to prevent the spread of the virus, before the police confirm the situation, doing whatever they want with corpses that turn into zombies is not allowed. Bai just watches. The director arrives and says that this incident happened at the academy, but he can take the body and wait a bit under the stage. When the police arrive to confirm things, they can take it. Xu thanks him. Ye says it's just a courtesy, as he didn't do anything wrong, and if anyone wants to embarrass him with this matter, they'll have to go through him first. Bai watches, furious. The director and the dean observe. In the Federal Army, people are watching the Academy's broadcast and its students. The soldiers say that he eliminated the young master of the Tang family after returning, but even if it's the family's fault, given their influence and power, they will definitely take action. Wen opens the door and says he heard about the incident, and that they'll receive orders to leave tomorrow and investigate the matter. The soldiers say yes. Jin says that's great earlier, death on him, and just arrest him and take him away. Lin says he received a star medal and doesn't believe he has the right to arrest him. If they want to arrest him, the Federal Army should be the ones to do it. The professor says he was also notified this morning and hands him an envelope, as the school believes paper, and says it's from the Sanctuary University. The soldiers ask what Sanctuary University is. Ye says it's responsible for the university's special admissions office and is always looking for talented students to offer special admissions. Since he observed Lin, his talents fully meet the university's requirements. The protagonist says he's already been expelled. The senior says the reason Sanctuary University has special admissions offices is that it has the right to offer special admissions. He doesn't need to attend the National College Entrance Exam. As with his ability, he doesn't even need to attend the last day of high school. Lin is happy and says he'll definitely go. While reading the admission letter, he thinks being expelled was a blessing in disguise, as he never imagined he would become a student of Sanctuary. He remembers Luo and thinks he never imagined they would meet so soon. He asks for the university's address, since he already searched the location on Google, and the admission letter doesn't mention anything either. He says he should go to the end of the path of the end, and there will be someone to guide him to Sanctuary University. The soldiers are shocked. The path of the end doesn't refer to a road, but to an area. This place has enormous zombies and high-level evolved creatures, and it's known as one of the most dangerous areas on the planet. It is also said that some of the strongest rank 10 evolved creatures are there. There are also the remains of several mysterious labs that were left behind during the war. Ye asks if he's scared. Xu replies that he's just a little excited, thinking there's nothing scary about the path of the end, because the more zombies and beasts there are, the more EXP he will gain. The senior pats him on the shoulder and asks what he plans for the future. Xu says he needs to get his martial artist license and then report to the university. Ye says he'll have many benefits for his development. He wishes him good luck. People congratulate him for becoming a student of Sanctuary University. He thanks them. The captain asks why they don't have some drinks to celebrate. Xu calls the professor to come along, and he asks if he can bring some friends. Lin says the more the better. The nurse, drinking, says she wishes the best for little Xu. Everyone says cheers and toasts. The doctor pulls him aside and says not to worry, because when he settles at the university, she'll accompany him. Fel says she'll definitely help him rank up quickly and enter the university early. Yang says he's a role model for his generation because when a girl and a lowly are interested in him, and when, by his side, pretending to be an older sister, can barely wait to go with Lin, just from looking into her eyes. The captain throws some hot food at his head and says that if he doesn't stop talking nonsense, she'll send someone to beat him until he looks like a pig. She stands up and says that's enough, asking when Shu is going to the Black Sea City. Approaching the protagonist, she asks if he wants her to take him there as she drives very well. The doctor glares at her angrily. Shu, feeling suffocated, says he doesn't need it, as he plans to walk there alone and also gain EXP along the way. He says he has to get stronger. On the edge of the City of Bright Stars, the protagonist walks through the forest, sighing and saying that the silver spear broke into several pieces and can't be repaired. He can only temporarily buy a spear in case of emergency. Later, when he gets his license, he will be able to purchase powerful weapons from the Federation's website. The plants sway. Lin thinks there's something around, as he senses the breath of zombies or evolved creatures, so they must be martial artists. He wonders if people are already gaining EXP, until something tries to attack him from behind. He dodges, counterattacking with his explosive fist ability, which cracks, sending the martial artist crashing into a tree. The martial artist is impressed, and the other two approach to attack Shu. The boy says he can't escape this time. The protagonist asks if that depends on him and attacks, throwing him to the ground. The redhead says he's obviously weak and asks why he's so frighteningly strong. Lin laughs and asks if they're the subordinates, if the leader shouldn't appear. Bai appears and says there are so many of them, and they can't deal with a student, making a mess of things, cursing him. He says he'll make Shu pay for his little Tian. Shu says if Bai is worried that Tian is lonely, calling him a piece of cake, causing a huge explosion. Lin starts coughing. The old man approaches and says he has no weapons, asking how he will fight him now, and attacks with his sword, with his rage strike. The old man wonders why Lin's aura has gotten stronger, thinking he didn't see him take any medicine and didn't sense any specific fluctuation in his arts. Bai is attacked and thrown far away, injured. Shu approaches and picks up the fall notification. Tired and relieved, Lin says it's finally over. As expected, the old man was about to reach rank 4, and if he hadn't used rage, he could have been defeated. The protagonist states that he has more journeys ahead. After walking for a while, he finds an abandoned house to rest in. He sits down and checks his stats, noticing that with a little more effort, he'll reach Warrior Grade 3 when his combat stat hits 2,000. He also realizes he's accumulated 4 lottery chances. Looking at the sides to keep spinning. When the roulette stops again, he obtains the legendary item Crimson Moon. Holding the item in his hand, he marvels at its soft metallic texture, acknowledging that legendary weapons truly stand apart. He equips the glove and remarks that he only knows punching skills, but it will work well with his explosive fist, especially since his spear broke, and he's not accustomed to swords. This prize is exactly what he needs. He continues spinning, wanting to use all his chances. This time, he obtains a large number of skill cards. The system notification shows skill card combinations and asks for confirmation. He agrees. The protagonist successfully combines bronze skill cards and obtains the silver spear skill card. He figures that even if he doesn't need a new skill, he can sell the combined cards for a good profit. While reviewing the new skill, he wonders what kind of ability it is, deciding to use the combination anyway. Another notification congratulates him on combining the skill cards, granting several attack items. Shu becomes annoyed, accusing this congratulates him again, but immediately informs him that the combination failed. Furious, he calls the system garbage and demands his silver tier skill back, kneeling and imploring it. The system asks if he wants to combine again. He accepts. This time, he notices it's a gold tier skill card and also a spear skill. Overjoyed, he states that even though he can't learn it yet as a grade 2 warrior, it won't stop him for long. Soon, he'll become a grade 3 warrior. He commands the system to spin again, expecting a surprise. He wins a quick upgrade pack too, and the system asks if he wants to use it now. Disappointed with the prize, he curses the system multiple times, but reluctantly equips the pack for the 50 bonus points it provides. Frustrated by the weight of the equipment, he sighs and remarks that there's still a long road ahead. As he walks, a voice cries out about a grade 2 silver-clawed bear. The enormous bear is chasing a boy who runs desperately. The protagonist steps forward and unleashes his explosive fist on the bear, causing a massive explosion. He notices the glove amplifies the power of his skill and successfully defeats the grade 2 evolved beast. The boy introduces himself as Liang and thanks the protagonist for saving his life. Xiu introduces himself and continues walking. He points to Lin, saying he was lucky that he showed up and saved his life, then mentions that he's also heading to Black Sea City to take the qualification exam. Liang suggests they all travel together since their destination is the same. Shu agrees. The boy then adds that they actually have a fifth member they met on the road, though her behavior is a little strange. He points to a girl in a tree and introduces her as the Princess in Black, saying her name is Howling. The girl repeats her name and asks how she's doing, introducing herself to Lin. Howling then asks Lin if he's willing to become her disciple. Shu is confused by the sudden offer, considering they've just met, and she's already inviting him to be her disciple. Liang whispers to him that she said the same thing when they first met and that she's asked everyone the same question. The protagonist apologizes, stating that he's not interested in accepting someone he just met as his teacher. She replies that he'll regret it. Shu thinks she's eccentric. As they walk, they come across numerous bones scattered on the ground. Liang asks why there are so many human bones. Shu explains that they're the remains of humans attacked by grade 2 man-devouring birds, a species of carnivorous birds that hunt in groups. A boy questions how Shu knows this and suggests it could be the work of a carnivorous beast. The girl calls him an idiot and points out the bite marks on the skulls left by the birds. The boy, irritated at being called an idiot, warns her not to think he won't hit her just because she looks young. Howling ignores him, instead praising Shu. The boy, angrier, says he's talking to her. At that moment, they spot a bird flying, adding that they always target weak yet rich individuals like them and make a fortune every time. One of the attackers taps Lin's chin, commenting on how unique his gloves appear. Eyeing his backpack, the man notes it also seems packed with valuable items. Turning to Howling, he strokes her face and demands her twin blades and backpack. Tian says he has some salt, but not much. The protagonist grabs the salt container, approaches the beast and throws it at it. The beast rises quickly, letting out a loud noise but soon calms down. Then, it strikes a tree, releasing a green goo that cracks the tree and topples it. The beast remains still for a moment but soon charges at them again. Shu uses his 100 birds returning to the phoenix technique, unleashing multiple flames and burning the beast. He wonders if he's defeated it, reasoning that losing such a large amount of fluid should be fatal, and the flames should have burned it completely. The beast burrows its face into the sand. Lin observes, noticing it sinking. Tian asks if it's over. The protagonist warns them to stay cautious, stating that the beast is still there. At that moment, a man approaches them. Tian explains that he's a hunter who ambushes people in the Blue Forest. Tian asks the hunter what he intends to do. The hunter replies that it's obvious, to kill them. The beast bites his legs, and he struggles to escape but can't. Shu watches and comments that the hunter was eliminated so easily. A notification informs him that the beast was also defeated, but he notices numerous larvae on the ground and becomes alarmed. The larvae swarm the hunter. He tries to shake them off, but there are too many and they overpower him. The larvae wriggle and ultimately defeat him. Tian suggests they leave the area. Lin comments that these blood larvae are small, but all of them are rank 3 evolved beasts. Shu charges at the larvae and uses his storm ability, followed by Pear Blossom. Multiple notifications pop up, indicating accumulated experience. He remarks that he never thought he'd gain so much EXP. He continues attacking with his skills, eliminating all the larvae. Zhang wonders if all of them have insects inside. Lin deduces they are likely parasites, cautioning the group not to step on the bodies and noting that they probably yield little experience points. They proceed further, as Lei complains about the grotesque scene. Shu reflects that if there are insect larvae, there must also be an adult insect nearby. He speculates that the presence of the bloom spear, comments that it's also heat-resistant, and speculates that if they take it back for forging, it could be made into a weapon. Zhang asks if the rift only dropped a few stones. Shu points to another area and suggests they check it out, saying his fire attribute energy senses something there. Zhang asks why it suddenly got so hot. Shu replies that there's something in the area. They come across something resembling a burning plant. Luo identifies. Luo agrees but notes they need special tools for the job. The protagonist laments that without the tools, their trip might have been for nothing, and he worries that someone else might arrive and take it before they do. At that moment, a voice announces they've found something. The team realizes someone else has arrived and questions how they discovered the location. Zhang identifies them as members of Class 2 from the Northern Branch. A red-haired boy calls over a friend and instructs him to prepare the equipment to transport the item. Shu notices they've indeed brought tools and remarks that they arrived first. The red-haired boy, with a defiant tone, points out the tools and insinuates that even if they handed over the flame, they could easily take it back. He mocks them, calling them the trash of Class 10 from the Southern Branch, and offers them a few Grade 4 crystals so they don't finish last in the test. Lin retorts, accusing him of daylight robbery and asking if he expects them to settle. The red-haired boy looks at the protagonist and realizes he's also strong. regretting underestimating them. He decides that even if they manage to defeat the team, they won't emerge unscathed. He orders Ming to hold off Molly's opponent so they can harvest the Crimson Lotus flame. Ming complies, rushing toward the flame. Xiu warns him not to touch it, suspecting that the blue-winged beetle on the ceiling is guarding it and will attack anyone who takes it. Ming dismisses the warning, asking why else they would be there if not for the Crimson Lotus flame. Molly, while fiddling with the flame, gloats about how rich they'll be once they have it. He successfully harvests it and rejoices. Lin notes that this isn't good as the blue-winged beetle wakes up. Molly calls out to his representative, announcing his success, but the beetle attacks and kills him instantly. The team is horrified, realizing that the beetle took out a grade 4 warrior in a single strike. More beetles begin to swarm. The red-haired boy panics, acknowledging that they can't win even if they combine their forces. He orders his team to retreat, abandoning the flame, and urges them to flee quickly. The protagonist tells his team to retreat as well, deeming the area too dangerous. However, as they attempt to leave, they find their path blocked by numerous stones. The red-haired boy, still fleeing, reveals that they deliberately destroyed the entrance to trap them, saying he'll leave them as insect food. Zhang realizes they've blown up the exit, cutting off their escape route. Lei asks what they should do. Xiu assesses the situation and volunteers to lure the beetles away while the rest of the team finds another way out. The team expresses concern, but Xiu jumps into action, sprinting toward the equipment holding the flame. He grabs it and dashes away, reasoning that since the beetles are guarding the flame, he'll use it to draw them away. As they run, the beetles chase after them, but Xiu encounters another beetle blocking his path. In the chaos, the tool opens. He'll be fine. Foot. In Blue City, they land at the airport. Xiao says that since the students often go to the forest for missions, the academy has a dirigible dedicated to these trips, along with accommodation and management. Blue City is the closest to the dark forest, and the scenery is unique, starting as dark blue and turning black. He then calls out to everyone and asks them to stay alert because he wants them all to return alive. At the same location, some young men are hiding, watching the Sanctuary Academy students. One of the employees says he saw them coming out of a small academy airship. The young master thinks about Luo and says that the Ice Queen is from the Sanctuary, and since she dares to eliminate members of his guild, he will have his revenge. He orders them to notify Maeda to ambush them outside the small town near the forest, and gather those in the city to support Maeda, adding that women should not be eliminated because it would be a shame to have them taken out. Sometime later, the academy students continue walking. Ruo says they rested in the city near the forest and left the next day until someone tries to attack them. The protagonist stays alert and asks them to pay attention. Bao Huo activates the barrier, protecting everyone, while the others keep attacking the barrier relentlessly. Bao Huo asks who they are. Ruo realizes that his barrier won't last long against these attacks, so he asks them to choose a direction to attack. Then, the barrier bursts. Ruo quickly runs with his ability, while Lin uses his Phoenix Fury. The girl uses her Flame Fists. The boy uses the Crescent Strike, and the bald man uses the Earth Chi Sword, creating a huge impact as he tries to strike them. However, all the attacks are evaded. A voice says that the rats have been expelled. Ruo throws his fan and orders them to eliminate them. Then, they rush to attack. One of their opponents says he's been burned. Shu uses the Silent Snow Steps and says that compared to training with the 6th-floor gravity laser weapon, this is nothing, hitting him and knocking his laser weapon away. The man in black, irritated, grabs his hidden swords and says that his moves are strange because he can't hit him. He then jumps, using his crossbar skill, and 2 opponents, but stays alert to Lin, saying he's so aggressive and that she loves it. The protagonist thinks she couldn't say such strange things in the middle of the battle. On the other side, Bao Huo hits his opponent with his fist. A man in black, frightened, asks his partner why they are so aggressive. He replies that they don't need to fight them head-on. They just need to buy time for the young master to bring reinforcements. Ruo overhears and says it's too late. They get scared and say not to approach. Meanwhile, the young master arrives with the reinforcements. Yosai says that Maeda brought 10 people, and they are already fighting with the academy's people. The young master says they don't even need to do anything since Maeda should be able to. She hasn't fully absorbed the flame, and if she eliminates it, she can take the rest of that energy from her body and asks if they've lost. Yue asks who said she would attack her. Xiu says they will collide and starts running. The men watch from afar and ask what's happening, as the aura is extremely powerful, becoming desperate and starting to scream. The smoke moves, causing a huge impact on the ground with large cracks. The Prota observes and says their fusion technique is incredible, as it defeated an 18th grade warrior so easily. Yue hits him and tells him to shut up. Ruo appears with her clothes all torn and calls them maniacs, asking that they inform her next time they're going to use that skill. In the Blue City, people walk. Xu asks what happened and why the place is under lockdown. Then, she passes through a detector, and when Luo tries to pass, the guard tells her to wait because the device is malfunctioning and can't continue scanning. One of them whispers that the captain's old habit is working again. The bald man says she's about to be escorted. The excited soldier says he'll have to search her personally. Yue says that if he moves again, he'll be eliminated, and then hits him in the groin. The bald man asks how she dares, and the other aims his weapon and asks what she's doing. Lin says they've already passed the scan, and he's clearly looking for trouble. The captain says these people are refusing to cooperate and orders them to arrest them. One of them approaches and says there's so much noise and wants to know what they're doing. One of them gives the report, explaining that these people refuse to be scanned, suspecting they're connected to the thieves, and they are preparing to arrest them. The colonel asks if they think they can catch a 7th grade warrior, telling them to explain what's going on. Luo shows knowledge and calls him by name. One of them asks how she dares to casually say the colonel's name. The colonel shows knowledge as well and hits the guy who intervened. Yue asks what he's doing in the Blue City. Zheng replies that he made a mistake in Sky and was demoted to this place, saying he didn't expect her to be in the city, and asks what happened. Luo replies that this guy tried to take advantage of her and was about to eliminate him. The colonel gets angry that he really dared to mess with the young lady and must have a desire for elimination, and orders him to be arrested. The girl asks what happened in the Blue City. Zheng explains that a treasure of inestimable value was stolen from the city lord's mansion, so the entire city is locked down, and for the next few days, only entry without exit will be allowed, and if she has nowhere to stay, he can arrange it. Yue replies that she doesn't need it and has her own place. He tells her to take care. They walk away from the place, and one of the soldiers asks who they are. The colonel replies that she is from the Luo family of Sky City, and they don't hesitate to eliminate in broad daylight. Lin is curious about how powerful her family is, as even the city's defense officers showed respect. The girl replies that it's none of their business. After some time, at the Sanctuary Academy, they enter and go to the counter. The protea asks where everyone is, as it was as busy as a market. The receptionist asks him to be careful with his words, and how dare he compare their prestigious branch to a market. With the blockade, there aren't many people, so he gave everyone the day off. Ruo asks if there is any airship returning to the academy today. The man replies that the last one already left, and since the entire city is under lockdown, no one can leave. He adds that until the lockdown is over, they will have to stay there, mentioning that he can get a large, luxurious suite, and no one will be staying in it anyway. Xu responds that a luxury suite must be really expensive. Very irritated, he asks if the old man is trying to deceive them to earn points. A card slams onto the counter, and Luo says they will book the most luxurious suite. Lin is left confused. The man runs the card through the machine and says she is so generous, and it is on the 18th floor, costing 10,000 points for one night. The prota, still extremely angry, asks if it's really that much for one night, and why not just rob them, wondering if he knows how hard it is for students to earn points. The man tells them to rest well and not leave that night, as there is a curfew and it's dangerous. While in the room, Xu is lying on the bed and comes to terms with the price of the luxury suite since it has everything he wants. Then, he sits up on the bed and hears noises from the living room, wondering if Yue is still training, thinking she is a training maniac. He leaves the room and finds the two of them looking out the window, asking why they aren't sleeping and what is so interesting. The two remain focused, and when he goes to look, he sees an airship approaching. They notice that the airship starts catching fire. They are frightened. Lin notices that it's coming toward them and then runs, telling the two to get out of the way. The airship gets closer and closer to the glass, crashing into the academy right where they were. Xiao is thrown far away, and so are the two. The airship begins to catch fire. The ship's door opens. Men in black descend and say that the city's defense force will arrive in 5 minutes, so they should take the opportunity to leave the building. They realize there are people there. The prota, lying on the ground, puts his hand on his head, saying it feels like he's going to split in half. The leader says he's just a grade 5 student, so they will leave him for them, and, after dealing with him, asks them to meet them downstairs. Then, they descend carrying a chest. The redhead, holding a sword, says the boy is unlucky. Xu is still a little dazed from the girl replies that he could be Xia Xing, the vice president of the Martial Arts Alliance, one of the founders of the Sacred Orchid Institute. Meanwhile, the captain apologizes and says they followed the thief's airship and had no intention to offend. Xia says he took care of everyone, and that there's one more up top, asking if the chest should contain the lost items, and suggests they take a look. Zheng thanks for the help and says to perform facial recognition on all the subjects and check the items inside the box. The soldier says the subject's identity has been confirmed, and they were the ones who stole. Another one says the meteorite has been confirmed but broke into two. The captain responds that it's fine as long as the meteorite is complete and no pieces are missing. The girls look at each other. Xiu sighs, relieved that they don't know about the crystal inside the meteorite. Zheng says the colonel asked to thank them again, and for all the damaged parts of the building, there will be a team responsible for free repairs. The janitor says he's thoughtful, and to thank him. Then, the soldiers leave. Xia says he'll arrange other rooms for him, and not to worry, as there will be no charge. Xiu says they won't even stay a night on the 18th floor, and it's already been destroyed. The old man responds that their branch is not responsible for natural disasters and accidents, and they can go back to rest as the airship should be able to operate normally. The next day in the building, Lin yawns and says he's so sleepy and asks who starts construction at 3 or 4 in the morning, making it impossible to sleep. As they walk down the stairs, the prota is impressed by so many people. Ruo says the issue has been resolved, and normal operations will naturally resume as they used to. An employee recognizes the three and hands them letters, saying it was especially instructed by Xia, and informs them that the airship will depart from 9 a.m., and they can rest in the waiting room. Xu asks about the old man and thinks that, in fact, he's the vice president of the Sacred Domain Academy. She replies that he left early to take care of other matters. Upon opening the letter, they find an evaluation of a star-level martial artist. The prota gets excited and says this is much more valuable than a common martial artist evaluation, and that the old man, though a bit despicable, is a good person, and he knows he owes them one. He thinks that there are still 6 months until the evaluation, and he must work hard, or a fifth-order martial artist will be a star and a laughingstock for others. Then the airship approaches. A voice recognizes Ruo and says he didn't expect him to come here to do missions as well. Ruo says he's more afraid of hurting his face, so he never goes on missions. Jin says that this time he's been tasked by the Dean of Instruction to complete an important mission in the desert city, and tells the protier that he's sitting in this seat and orders him to go elsewhere. Xiu asks who he thinks he is to order him to leave the seat. Jin asks what he said and if he's a fifth order, thinking that he's sitting with 2 beauties and will humiliate him in front of them. He says he politely asked him to vacate the seat, but he's being arrogant and disrespectful. Lin responds that people like him never deserve special treatment. Jin strikes him. The prota doesn't retreat and also attacks him. Their attacks collide, and Jin steps back, screaming in pain, saying that the young man is so cruel, immediately attacking someone. Xiu says he should be grateful to be on the Sacred Domain Academy's airship. Otherwise, his hand would already be gone. Even so, Jin approaches again, trying to strike. Lin asks if, with his effeminate voice, he dares to threaten him, until someone shouts for them to stop. The teacher tells Jin that he dared to disregard the academy's rules and fight, and when they return to the academy, he will report this to the Dean of Instruction, and he will be confined for 3 days. Jin says he is innocent, and that it was he who started it, and almost lost his arm. Lin says that he is going to play the victim then. The professor says it doesn't matter who started it, and they will both be confined, and if, during the remaining journey they dare to fight again, he will incapacitate them first. Then, he leaves. Jin says being stuck at the academy will give him a surprise. The prota thinks the guy is crazy, as if he wasn't stuck there too, and asks why she didn't speak for him when the tutor was there. Luo answers that being confined will be good for him. Xiu asks what good confinement could do. The girl replies that he will find out later. Then, the airship approaches the academy. They disembark. Lin says he will report to the southern professor. Ruo says he will get the points for this mission, and then transfer them, he thanks, and asks if Luo shouldn't report to the southern professor. Yue answers that no, and that she directly asked for leave from the director. The prota tries to say something, but she won't, and asks if this flock of birds can intimidate him. Then he uses his technique, throwing them away and leaving them defeated. He realizes that the move really works, and he accidentally created a new martial move, needing to give it a name. He says he's going to call it Electric Spark, and add a bit of fire. Then he makes hand movements, emitting his abilities and attacking them. The medical team asks if he's really a 5th tier, and if the director was notified, and why hasn't he arrived yet, because if he doesn't come soon, the director's Thunderbirds will be eliminated. Then the professor arrives and asks if the prota is all right. Upon observing, they see the boy sitting calmly with all the birds defeated. Nan asks if those birds were all hurt by him. Lin responds yes, but there's no need to worry, because they're fine, and he knows his limits. And the little creatures are also guests of the director. The director observes and says that he knows these are the director's little creatures, and he entrusted these precious Thunderbirds to him. He asks how he's going to explain this now. The professor says the birds attacked first, and he was just defending himself, unable to stay still until being pecked to the end. The director says this student is absorbing the lightning that the birds attracted, and the thunderbirds were only stimulated by their food protection instincts when they attacked. Lin responds that it wasn't intentional, and that he's been cultivating lightning-related arts. The director replies to take the boy to the infirmary, and that he will report the incident. The protege asks if his confinement is over. Zhang responds that he came for confinement and ended up eliminating all the thunder in a single day, so the confinement will be extended, and even if there are no more lightning, he will stay for 7 more days to reflect on his actions. Xiu says it's really not his fault. Then, in the dorm, a voice says they're back. Lin approaches and asks if they missed him. Luo asks if he really destroyed all the birds and that his lightning abilities must have improved a lot. Cultivate. Lin throws the card and gets upset because he doesn't like his winnings. Meanwhile, the pet and the bird keep eating the crystals. While at the academy, voices are excited about the prota's return, and they heard that as soon as he arrived, fighting against Class 1 because she won't participate in the other fights. Lin asks if she's saying the other classes are not challenging enough. Luo replies that Class 1 isn't challenging either, she just doesn't like them. The prota thinks that when it comes to acting with ease, she takes the prize. At the Sacred Region Academy, everyone is gathered, and Class 10 arrives at the location. Nan asks if the forum post was made by him. The prota replies no, and that even though he can be arrogant sometimes, he wouldn't make such a stupid post to attract hate. The teacher agrees with him. Xiu says that if he were to make a post, he wouldn't just call the Northern Division trash, but would call all the first-year students of the entire academy trash. Then it's announced that the competition starts now. The students of Class 5 wait. Lin asks what's up with the opponent's launch and if he wants him to teach him how to use it. The students of Class 5 prepare to attack. The prota thinks that he's focusing his fire on him, and at least he has some brains, but in the face of absolute strength, those brains are not enough. Then, Xiu holds his spear, waiting for his opponents to approach, smiles confidently, and attacks them all at once with his skill, striking them again. The students of Class 5 are in disbelief. Then, Lin heads toward the dwarf and strikes him, piercing his body, and says it's shameful. The girl says that the 2 strongest were defeated, and the boy asks what they should do now. The people from Class 10 say that the class leader is incredible, and that they should take the opportunity to finish off the rest of these 3 little ones. The prota sits down and says that the next 3 are theirs. They watch, not understanding. Zhang asks if he isn't going to help them, and that they are at a disadvantage because 2 of them are 4th level, while all 3 are 4th level. Xiu says he doesn't care, and that if he loses, he'll jump right there. The Class 5 students say they won't be polite. The Class 10 students say that if that's the case, they should let the class leader unleash the fruits of the demonic training. Zhang watches. Meanwhile, Jiang asks the representative to look at his martial arts skill, shake the mountains, and terrorize the tiger. The redhead tells the representative that this is his, forcefully splitting Mount Hua. The others also show their new skills. Xiu observes and notes that it's so embarrassing. A student from Class 5 asks if they need to shout at the class leader to activate their abilities. Zhang laughs and says that finally someone is losing composure. Then he attacks them with his cross sword slash. She says it's 2 against 1, and yet they won't surrender. The redhead says they'll win. Lin thinks that even though it was a bit embarrassing, these guys are finally using their brains in battle. Then it's announced that Class 10 won. After some time at the academy, they comment that it was fun. The redhead says that the class leader's chain kick turned Mollentane Wild into a pig's head, and it's satisfying to watch. The prota says their training can't slack off. People pass in front of them, commenting on a freshman named Cheng who, on his first day of class, reached the 30th floor of the arena tower. Jiang asks if that's not 5 floors more than the representative. Xiu responds that on his first day, he only made it to the 20th floor, and it was only after promising Huo that he reached the 25th floor. Luo says he downloaded Cheng's battle video and that they need to hurry to watch it. Lin asks why they need to hurry to watch it. She answers that it's because he's arrogant and good at hatred, and it won't take long for Cheng to look for him. The prota thinks that she's always drawing her sword to hurt people and manages to be more arrogant than himself. Watching a video, they notice that his weapon is an allegory, akin to a launch. Luo says that the veteran he defeated is from Class 5 of the North Courtyard, a 7th level artist known as the Sword King. Xiu asks if an artist was easily destroyed by him and says that this guy's strength is really scary. Hang approaches and asks if he's also watching Cheng's battle video. Xiu asks if he isn't there to give another diamond card. He answers no. Lin asks if he's there for a competitive match against Class 10 and says it's not their turn yet, as they'll defeat Class 1 first. Hang says he's not there to fight with them, but for an agreement, and calls him to talk privately. They move away, and the prota asks if he really wants to make a deal. Hang says he wants to exchange his old martial arts skill card. the diamond level instant step. Xiu says that's what he won tooth and nail with Huo, and asks if he can't just say to exchange and do it, and that besides, the instant step body technique is ranked 30th in the world, which is priceless. Hang shows his diamond card, which is also a movement technique card called Shadow Clone, ranked 20th in the world, and explains that if he also has a martial skill of division, combining it with Shadow Clone will definitely be more unexpected. Lin gets excited and says he'll exchange. Hang says his attitude changed too quickly. The Prota asks why he's suddenly being so nice and what the trick is. Hang asks what else he would like to have and explains that this diamond card is something his father had to beg the elders of the family for, and if he loses it, his father will definitely kick him out of the house. Xiu says that it's not that he can't give the card, but he has to promise one thing. Hang is left confused. Lin says it's not a big deal, just that he has to do what he says, and whispers something in his ear.
The boy's cheeks turn red, and he says he won't do it. The Prota asks if he will do it or not, and says he is about to reach the level, so he will use this diamond card directly. Hang says it's fine and promises, asking for the blink card. Xiu tells him not to forget what he promised. He takes the level 20 movement technique card and says it's a bargain. A few days later, Lin says that after several days of competition, only Class 1 from the Northern Division remains. Zhang says that from Class 1, Zhuo has been training outdoors since he was defeated by him, and today's team will be led by Yang, an artist who has already reached level 6. The Prota responds that it doesn't matter who it is, just knock them all down, and tells Ping not to play this time against Class 1 and leave it for Luo. They go up the stairs, and Ping wishes good luck to everyone. Meanwhile, it's announced for the Class 1 and Class 10 players to enter the arena. Yongji asks if he is Lin and introduces himself, saying he's nothing like the trash Zhuo. Xiu responds that this is different, as, unlike Zhuo, he will defeat him in even less time. Then, Yongji approaches. The students of Class 1 call Luo a traitor and say they will make her pay today. They immediately approach to attack her. Yue takes her attack position. Zhang says it's 3 against Luo, and they should help her. But suddenly the big guy appears, saying that their opponent is him. Tudu attacks. Zhang tries to defend but ends up being thrown away, crashing to the ground. The 2 students from Class 10 go towards Tudu to attack him, but the big guy uses his skill and knocks them away with just 1 strike. The redhead asks if this is Class 1's strength, as they couldn't even resist a single blow. Zhang says it's fine, as they still have the representative and Luo's. His body feels like it's falling apart. Martial Arts Arena of the Sanctuary Academy. A student asks if he's nervous, and Hang replies that it's a bit stressful because he lost once before. The student says he doesn't need to be nervous, since he's not needed there. Hang asks what he means. The student replies that he's not the only one in the first class of the 6th Order Academy South, and works better with the 4. He then announces for the competitors to go to the ring. The redhead walks out and says to watch closely, and that the first class won't lose to the forced class again under his leadership. Hang, irritated, asks if they won't let the class president play, and thinks he's excited to see him get beaten by the 10th class representative. The 2 classes face each other. Xiu asks about Hang and why he's not playing. The redhead replies that they don't need him on the field. The protagonist says he's the class president, asks how he can't continue, and if he's being underestimated, and who the hell is he to speak for the first class. The redhead gets angry. Hang observes and says that evil continues to be evil. Then they announce that the match has begun. A student surrounds the representative with his spiked flail, another with a hammer, and the other students surround the rest of the 10th class. Meanwhile, the redhead approaches Luo. She just stares at him and attacks. He says she doesn't need to act like that the moment they meet. The redhead tries to introduce himself, but Yue interrupts him and strikes, causing a great impact. Zhang says that the 4th Order versus the 6th Order won't last more than a few days. A student gets close to the 10th class representative and says that his teammates can't even land a Cayman move and are clearly a 6th Order. Lin asks if the 6th Order is something, thinking it's a good time to experiment with them using raptors, then attacks. The big guy asks if he knows the 6th Order and if the 6th class can use it, and says the circle for defense and his attacks are useless. Xiu says he will now see how long he can defend. Then, the protagonist attacks him with his flames, causing an explosion. Che, lying down, asks if none of these martial arts techniques are intentional or using source power. His teammates are outraged and approach to attack. Lin attacks again and says this is now the main event. The opponents look shocked, until another explosion happens, throwing Che far and causing serious injuries. The 10th class students are happy about this. Zhang says it seems Luo is at a disadvantage, and didn't expect her opponent to be so strong. The 2 continue fighting. Chung says she hasn't improved at all in the past few years. Yue says nothing and keeps attacking. Xiu notices that his partner is at a disadvantage and runs toward her. Then,
3 boys surround him and ask where he thinks he's going. They say they've surrounded him and ask where he thinks he can hide. The 3 of them then approach to attack at once, causing a huge impact. The 10th class students worry about their representative. The smoke moves as they continue trying to attack and get frustrated for not being able to, especially since the protagonist is inside a barrier. The teacher notices it's his student's circle and that he's reached the 6th order. Lin says he forgot to mention that he now has a circle too. The opponent says he will destroy his circle and attempts to break it with various attacks. Xiu tells them to look closely because his circle is not something anyone can compare to. Then, he attacks, and the impact causes shockwaves. The opponents are thrown back. Zhang asks if his circle also has a lightning attribute. The injured opponents ask how this is possible and say his circle has an electric shock effect. Then, the protagonist approaches to attack again. One of the opponents says his body is still paralyzed, so he activates the barrier. Lin watches confidently and attacks. The opponent can't believe it when his barrier is shattered into pieces. Ping, watching, is happy for their representative. The opponent, with his weapon in hand, leaps. Shu asks if mechanisms are allowed during the battle. The judge replies that yes, since it is also considered a weapon. The 10th class students get angry and say it's not allowed and that they're clearly trying to prevent them from winning. Their teacher says the school doesn't have that rule and thinks the elite class teachers don't want to see the 10th class, always called last place, win the tournament championship. The opponent says the championship doesn't belong to them. The protagonist says it seems like there are many people at the Holy Orchid Institute who don't want them to win. So, he will win just to show them. While Hang is watching, he asks how this is possible, and if he really learned the Shadow Clone, noting that many people failed to learn it and became crippled from trying to force it, which is why he switched it for a useless card. Lin attacks with his charge attack and throws the opponent away. The opponent uses his weapon and says it won't be that easy to take him down. Shu asks if he thinks he can use that cheap trick on him twice and to remember not to use conductive materials next time. Then, the student is attacked with shocks. The protagonist continues attacking. The opponent, out of breath, is thrown far. His teammates get angry and try to attack with a chain, one from each side. Lin asks if they're coming back for more and says pulverize. As the opponents surround them with the steel chain, Shu asks if they're trying to entangle him with steel wires. Then, he uses his shock and attacks them. One of them says he can hit him until the end, before being electrocuted. The protagonist asks if they think this is all the chain they have. He then continues attacking with his electric current, causing huge impacts, breaking their steel chain, and throwing them away. The 10th class students cheer and root for their representative. Meanwhile, on the other side, Yue is injured. Lin is worried about her. Luo says nothing. Xiu asks if she's feeling unwell and thinks she doesn't seem to be using all her strength and appears to be worried. He walks away, telling her to take care of her injuries while he takes care of himself. Chung asks if he thinks that just because he defeated 4 weaklings, he can challenge him. He asks, how would he know if he didn't try? The redhead says he's going to reveal a secret and says that Luo is his fiancée. The protagonist doesn't understand anything and asks if the opponent is telling the truth. Chung approaches to attack and asks where he's looking. Lin dodges and immediately attacks, throwing him away until a voice calls for the representative. Luo says for him not to listen to this nonsense. The redhead says this is an arranged marriage by the heads of both families. Yue says she doesn't agree and no one can control her. Chung asks if she likes this boy, and she replies that it's none of his business. The redhead says that with this boy's strength, the two of them will never be able to be together, and he's going to crush him and make her face reality. Xiu tells her to go down and heal, as he will deal with him alone. Luo watches and leaves, saying she believes in him. She leaves the area. The 10th class students want to know why she jumped in and that their representative is going to lose. Zhang tells them to shut up, as the class monitor will win. Chung asks if he's offering a duel between men. He replies that he's wrong and just wanted to have a face-to-face conversation. The redhead approaches to attack and says that he's looking for the end. Chung says he's been training electrical resistance since he was a child, and that this current means nothing. He attacks, causing a great impact and destroying the barrier. The protagonist is thrown back, but holds on to his spear. The redhead approaches again and says that his spear can't defend against his attack, and that's the difference. The two exchange blows. Shu uses his flames. Chung says he'll show his sphere. He then activates his barrier. Lin attacks with his flames and says to try this move. The flames come back. The protagonist is startled and confused and is thrown away, asking if his sphere reflects attacks. The redhead tells him not to think that he's the only one whose sphere has other attributes. Chung then approaches to attack again but notices it was a clone. Lin leaps and attacks him. The redhead says this must be the diamond body movement technique and asks how a country bumpkin could know such a technique. He watches and becomes scared. trying to run, but when he leaps, he's attacked by several flames, causing a huge explosion. Xiu wonders if it's over. Then Cheng appears after the flames die down and says that this level of flame can't hurt him, and he smiles. The protagonist asks if this guy can really break through the power of his star refinement hell. The redhead says he's going to show his diamond martial techniques. Lin watches and says he also has a dragon. Then, he activates his dragon as well. The two face off and attack each other, causing another explosion and powerful impacts that make the audience move because of the shock. They watch the smoke. Zhang asks who won, until the redhead runs and falls to the ground. Then, it's announced that the protagonist is the winner. Shu is happy with his victory. The students in the class are also super excited and approach, calling for the class monitor. Lin looks at Luo and says he won, repeating it again that he won, until he falls to the ground. People say the monitor fainted, and that they should call the doctor. In the infirmary at the Sanctuary Academy, the protagonist opens his eyes while lying in a machine. The students notice he's awake and say he was unconscious for 2 days and 2 nights. Xiu gets embarrassed, trying to cover his private parts, and asks if Luo is there too. Jiang says she took care of him during the 2 days. The redhead asks why the two of them are acting so shy, like an old couple. Then, they both punch him for saying that. Ping thinks it serves them right. Yue says there's a bathroom with clean clothes there, and tells him to go wash up, as the professor came by a few times saying the director had urgent business with him. Lin wonders if he was caught stealing electricity. In the director's office, the Southern Academy professor is there, and blames him when he enters. Shu asks who he is, and what power plant, thinking he was really caught. The professor, irritated, says that a real man takes responsibility for his actions, and asks who else at this academy cultivates lightning attributes. The protagonist asks if he has any proof, and says that even though he's a school employee, he can't falsely accuse a student. The director asks if he wants to try it out, and says he'll give him proof. He presses a button that shows a screen where the protagonist was placed in confinement for a fight in the dirigible, and his birds were all injured and still haven't recovered. He ran to the power station to steal electricity, causing a power outage across the entire Academy Island, and asks if the boy can't stay away from trouble. Lin thinks that Hang didn't mention there were no surveillance cameras in the power plant area. The professor says the evidence is conclusive, and asks if he has anything else to say. Shu replies that it wasn't his fault about the birds and the power station. He did it, but he was desperate to improve his strength, and says he's going to slap everyone who looks down on the 10th class in the face. The director says he likes his inflexible and stubborn personality, but if he makes a mistake, he must accept the consequences. He asks what he thinks about that and says he will give him a chance to redeem himself. He explains that strange energy fluctuations have been detected below the Sanctuary Academy, and they need to send someone to investigate. He is the strongest among the rank 6 fighters. As long as he completes the investigation, all punishments will be waived. The protagonist responds that the academy is full of experts, with rank 7 and 8 fighters everywhere, and asks why him, a rank 6 fighter. Bai responds that it's inevitable and says that there are many powerful evolved beasts below the academy, and if they send high-ranking fighters, it could alert them to the danger, triggering a wave of terrifying beasts. Lin asks what he gets out of it. The professor, irritated, asks if he still dares to ask for benefits. The director says that as long as he completes the mission, he will be naturally rewarded, and tells Professor Li to leave, as he will speak to the student alone. Li grumbles and exits. Bai says the 10th class came first in the class competition, and all the students who didn't participate confirmed 50,000 points and 1 gold martial card, and the participants accredited 100,000 points and 2 gold martial skill cards. And since his performance was particularly good, he will reward him with a diamond martial skill at the Xingyao Academy for more than half a year, and has made many friends. Both out of friendship and duty, she needs to check it out. She knows that he's an orphan there, without parents, and that the academy expelled him, so she asks if he's going. Lin responds that after all it's where he grew up, and he has some ties there, so he will go. She is happy that he's going. Luo says that she's going as well. Ruo says not to worry. The two stare at each other, and Shu says he will ask the dean for permission. Ruo asks if he really needs to, and he replies that he does, as he still has a score to settle. Meanwhile, in the director's office, the protagonist slams the table, saying that he was nearly eliminated. The dean responds that he heard that although he was seriously injured, his muscles evolved and his strength improved, so in this case, he should be grateful. Lin says that muscle evolution and increased strength are due to his martial arts training, and at the very least, he should be compensated with a diamond martial arts card for having suffered. The director says they recovered the intelligent robot and the device that can open space rifts, but they did not find the mysterious energy crystal in the device, and he asks if he has seen it. Shu asks what that has to do with him, and says that at that time, the two of them were attacked by more than 10 alien creatures. The old man says the situation was critical and asks why he did not ask for help instead of turning off his earpiece and camera. The protagonist gets irritated and asks if he means to imply that he swallowed the crystal, adding that his diving helmet was destroyed by creatures and that he was almost executed in the sea. The dean tells him to forget about it. He hands over 2 cards, saying they contain the rewards, 2 diamond martial arts cards, and that he knows he is skilled in spear techniques and close combat, so he selected these 2. Lin comments that he still has some conscience and gets very excited about his gain, saying that he and other second-year students are planning to take a leave to visit Starry Ski City. The old man says they need to ask their mentors. Shu points out that he is the dean, and it is just 5 students taking a leave. The director says he will grant a 1-month leave and will also approve a private airship to take them to the city. The protagonist suspects he has something up his sleeve because he is being too nice. The dean then says he just received news that intelligent robots have been found in cities near Area E99, where outbreaks and zombie floods have occurred, and he was about to send someone to investigate when he showed up. Lin asks who would dare take on his missions, and he replies that the underwater incident was an accident, and they cannot always count on luck during missions, but as long as they find useful clues, everyone will be rewarded. Shu accepts the mission. The director says that is great, and that he will arrange an airship for them. The next day, the students are in their gear, with weapons and bags. Ruo finds his friend and shouts that he is there. The protagonist asks if they were not supposed to get reinforcements, and why there is only this big guy. Ruo says there are 4 of them, all very skilled, and asks if he is still afraid of a zombie horde. They agree and board the airship. They observe their surroundings. The red-haired guy is surprised to see the airship, and the girl with glasses comments that he is well respected. Luo asks if the old man assigned him another mission. Lin replies that it is nothing much, just investigating something in Area E99. Ruo says it is worth appreciating the luxury of a private airship. Yue just watches. Then, the airship starts and departs. The red-haired guy tells them to look outside. They realize that the melted ice in Area E99 has flooded 5 nearby cities, and there are many zombies and evolved beasts. Shu does not understand much and asks what is happening. A subordinate says they are under attack from a 7th-order beast. The protagonist asks Xiao if she did not say there were only zombies and evolved beasts. She replies that that was what she heard. The subordinate says the beast is a type of fish that can only lurk in deep waters, and they will be safe once they leave the area since the shallow areas are mostly occupied by 5th-order zombies and evolved beasts. They say they are approaching and have landed on the rooftop of the Sanctuary Academy branch building in the southern district of Starry Sky City. The red-haired guy comments that the guards there are useless for letting zombies in. The subordinates tell them to contact the academy when they finish the mission so they can be picked up immediately. They descend from the airship, and there are several monsters trying to jump over the wall. At Starlight Academy, the guards start shooting at them to prevent them from jumping over. Several explosions occur. Meanwhile, many beasts are approaching over the water. The guards realize that all the zombies are of the 5th order, and also notice zombie birds approaching, believing they won't be able to hold them back. The birds begin attacking the guards, making the situation even worse, as the zombie horde invades the academy. Several airships approach the area, instructing all teachers and students to board immediately and do so quickly. One of the students notices that student Zhang is missing from the group. The female students say that the girl was defeated by someone during the evacuation, leaving the teacher uncertain about what to do. The guards notice that the gates have been broken, and all the zombies and beasts are rushing onto the campus. The teacher assigns Tian to lead the students to the ship while he goes to find Zhang. Tian, scared, points out that the zombie horde has already overrun the campus. The teacher insists that he is responsible for each of them. The director asks what he is looking for, and Li responds that a student from their class is missing. Tang dismisses it, saying that it's just a useless student from the last class, and that it doesn't matter if they are eliminated. The teacher, irritated, questions what he means by that. Tang replies that the class that placed last must face the consequences, and that the other teachers and students cannot wait for just one student. Tian argues that his friend, who was expelled, was also from the last class, and is now a big shot at Sanctuary Academy. The director sarcastically asks why he doesn't summon his friend to appear and save them now. They realize the zombies are closing in. The beasts open their massive jaws as they approach. Suddenly, Tian spots Zhang and points to her. They see that she is cornered and terrified. The teacher runs toward her, telling Tian to get the students onto the airship. A zombie is about to attack the girl, but Li strikes it down and pulls the student away. Another beast approaches, leaping onto him and knocking him to the ground. The teacher tells Zhang not to worry and to run quickly. Zhang hesitates, watching. The beast bites Li, and Tian grows concerned until a fiery bird appears, defeating the creatures. Lee rises, noticing the flame's power. The zombies continue to be attacked by the butterfly dance technique. The students notice 4 martial artists approaching, realizing their strength as they instantly eliminate the 5th order zombies. Tian observes and smiles. Smoke drifts across the area, and the zombies lie defeated on the ground. The teacher looks over and Shu appears, saying it has been a long time since he last saw him. Lee is thrilled to see him. Meanwhile, more beasts approach. The protagonist says this is no time for reunions and that he and the student must return to the airship while they handle the zombies. The two then run toward the airship. Tian asks if they are okay and if his friend is leading the group of 4 specialists. The teacher confirms, revealing that the specialist is their former classmate. The students who were in Lin's class become excited, shouting his name. The director looks irritated as they comment on the contrast. While they struggled against the zombies, for Lin, it was as easy as slicing melons and vegetables. They note that he left Starry Sky less than a year ago and is already of the 6th order. The teacher corrects them, saying that he is not just of the 6th order and that the cold-looking girl is a 7th order martial artist. The students are amazed, wondering if this ice beauty might be his girlfriend. Lee states that even though the boy is of the 6th order, his combat skills far exceed that level, and such techniques can only be perfected through countless life-or-death battles, meaning they cannot simply learn from his growth. He emphasizes that they are so strong that many zombies and evolved beasts have been eliminated by them. Tian hugs Lin, saying it has been a long time since they last met. The students from the class cheer upon seeing him, calling him their idol. Ruo asks if she is invisible. Tian then notices the nurse and asks why she is with him. Xiao replies that she is also a student of Sanctuary and is now his girlfriend. Luo draws her sword, challenging her to repeat that. Tian comments that Lin is truly surrounded by beauties. Lin says they are all classmates and tells the director that he did not expect to meet him again, as he still has a score to settle with his family. Tang tells him not to get cocky just because he is now of the 6th order, warning that if he dares to cause trouble, his family will be eliminated. The protagonist replies that he is there for the mission, but if they dare to touch him, they should be prepared to face the consequences. The director looks irritated. The school's vice principal approaches, thanks him, and expresses hope that he will forgive them for the incident that happened some time ago. Shu says he simply could not abandon his classmates. The vice principal states that they need to reach White Emperor City safely and asks if he would like to go with them. Lin declines, saying he still has a mission to complete. A staff member reports that 2 Academy airships were destroyed by a giant evolved beast and that they have requested their support with an airship. Tian asks if Shuang is not at Polaris Academy. The protagonist grumbles, and the vice principal, looking confident, orders the airship to be sent as quickly as possible to support them. Xiu thanks him, saying they will be delayed, but will show up. The vice principal adds that once the crisis is over, he hopes they will allow him to invite them to a banquet to express their gratitude. Meanwhile, at Polaris Academy, a giant beast is wreaking havoc, and students are running in panic, anxiously wondering when the airship will arrive. They continue to flee desperately, knowing that if the giant beast discovers them, they are doomed. A teacher announces that one of the airships is on its way. They look to the sky, spot the airship, and rejoice. The teacher instructs them not to push and to form a line to board, but then he notices the giant monster moving toward them. A burly man urges them to hurry and steps ahead of everyone, entering the airship and demanding that the door be closed. A blonde student protests, saying that many others have yet to board. The burly man strikes him and declares that his life is worth more than all of theirs combined. Frightened, the blonde man reluctantly moves to close the door. A girl steps in, telling him to stop and asking if he is really going to abandon students and teachers just to save himself. Park tries to strike her, but someone blocks his attack. The burly man asks how she dares to interfere in his business and if she has a death wish. The protagonist responds that he does, and asks what Park intends to do about it. Park senses a powerful aura, and wonders since when Starry Sky Academy has had such formidable warriors, 4 of them no less. Xiu observes him and twists his arm. The burly man demands if he knows who his father is. Lin replies that it does not matter and that trash like him does not deserve a place on the airship. He then throws Park out and comments that it has been a long time since he last saw Schwanger. The girl recognizes him, rushes to embrace him, and says she thought she would never see him again. 2 blonde girls dislike what they are witnessing, and the protagonist explains that she is his childhood friend. Ruo continues making unnecessary remarks, clearly jealous. Xiu tells her to stop adding fuel to the fire, but before they can dwell on it, the beast continues to approach. Lin rushes forward, telling them to take care of Schwanger and instructing everyone to board the airship in an orderly fashion without panicking. Shuang warns him to be careful. The female students ask if that handsome young man is her beloved. questioning why she said he was at Sanctuary Academy when he is here now, and whether he came specifically to save her. They comment that the beast is incredibly strong, but they did not expect her beloved to be even stronger. Shuang reflects that in less than a year, her friend has reached the 6th order, and she has never been able to keep up with him, only watch from a distance. The protagonist defeats the beast and remarks that he thought he had finally met a worthy opponent, but it turned out to be disappointing. The beast rises and lets out a roar. Other beasts hear it and rush toward the area. People on top of a building realize that the giant beast is summoning reinforcements. The students board the airship and report that they are ready for takeoff. A staff member asks if they should lift off, but the captain replies that the warriors have not given the order yet. Xiu says that summoning all the beasts at once will actually save them time and reassures them that there is nothing to worry about because he is there. He thrusts his spear into the ground, unleashing a powerful aura. One of the onlookers realizes that he is a dominator and a formidable young warrior. Lin tells everyone to eliminate as many as they want. The red-haired student feels his strength surge and asks how the boy did that. Xiao observes and remarks that he truly is the man she has been searching for. Meanwhile, the students on top of the building see 2 female students pestering, asking if he isn't their neighbor and how he could be so strong, even suggesting that he might be an old man who rejuvenated using drugs. Shuang replies that it's impossible. An old man says that the young warrior cannot be of the 9th order and that it must be an extremely rare domain martial technique. The bald man adds that not only are domain-type manual techniques rare, but the boy himself is terrifying. Meanwhile, the 4 continue fighting the beasts, unleashing their abilities and attacks. The academy members watch in awe, feeling that they can't even remain still. Monsters are thrown far away. The giant beast approaches, roaring as it prepares to attack. The protagonist notices and leaps, using his flame ability, causing multiple impacts. People shield their faces as the fire is overwhelmingly strong. Explosions erupt across the giant beast. The beast then starts to run. Luo notices and asks if it's trying to escape. She quickly swings her sword and severs its legs. The students cheer excitedly. The red-haired one asks if there are more tasks to follow. Zhu responds that they are just small fries and not worth chasing. They watch as the remaining beasts are struck down. Soldiers fire at them and warn everyone to be cautious. They soon realize that all the evolved beasts, including the giant one, have been wiped out, and they wonder if it could be the work of the 4 students. A female soldier tells them to wait. Lin glances back, and the soldiers recognize him. The protagonist is pleased to see them. Yi looks to the side and asks if he was the one who took them all down. He confirms that he was. The female soldier asks if he is at the 6th order. He replies that he is. Yi remarks that transferring to another academy seems to have done him well. Jin tells the soldiers that this is the boy he always mentioned, and they ask who the other people are. Shu responds that they are all colleagues from Sanctuary Academy, and tells his friends that these soldiers are his comrades in arms from the military. He asks about the captain. Jin replies that he has now become a colonel and is stationed in White Emperor City.
He dares to touch his uncle and says they are looking for the end. Li says it was a misunderstanding and that he could show mercy, but Lin keeps attacking. Hyun runs, but Luo steps in front of him, glares at him, draws his sword and points it at him. Fu gets worried when he sees that he's about to be hit and runs in front of him, getting hit instead. Lao falls to the ground. With severe injuries, he thinks this girl is quite strong and wonders how that guy can have such a powerful relative, taking the blame and saying they are willing to compensate. 10 million Federation coins. The protagonist says he doesn't care about the money, just wants him to experience the pain of having his limbs broken. Suddenly, a group arrives asking who dares to cause trouble in the White Emperor City. The vice president and Hyun blame them. The officer says to arrest them. The 2 partners are in the middle of the weapons, about to be handcuffed. Xiu says that Hyun hurt common people and asks if instead of this, they are going to arrest them. Jin says it's the White Emperor City and asks if they dare to openly oppose the Federation's government. Suddenly, someone shouts for everyone to stop. The soldiers enter through the store. The leader glares at them and asks how the officer dares to arrest a soldier with a 1-star medal. Jin is surprised to hear it's a 1-star medal and stares at him. The leader says they also contributed to the Federal Army's fight against the zombies and are applying for a 2-star medal for them. The officer looks surprised and asks if all the zombies were exterminated by them. Still surprised, Jin kneels and says that he is sorry for not recognizing his importance and for offending him. The leader says that now they can wrap it up. The officer says they are wrapping it up now and leaves the area. Lin notices that Park has escaped, but the vice president is still there. He smiles. The vice president takes the blame and says he will now arrange the best treatment. The leader tells him to get lost now. The vice president says he is getting lost. The leader says that the boy is already at the 6th rank after being out for less than a year. They continue talking about their titles, and the leader starts talking about the Park family, which has a lot of influence in the White Emperor City. Though strong, they must still be careful of them sabotaging them secretly. Meanwhile, someone is aiming at the protagonist with a weapon until they shoot. Luo shouts for him to be careful. Xiu dodges, avoiding the shot, and says there is a sniper, and they must be on the opposite rooftop. The colonel tells the soldiers to surround the building and make sure to find him and see who dares to shoot. Lin runs and tells his beast to hold the bastard and moves quickly. Meanwhile, on top of the building, the sniper realizes he missed, then looks up and notices beasts approaching and attacking him non-stop. The bird uses its ability and freezes his leg. The sniper wonders about the powerful ice aura. He manages to remove the ice from his leg and pushes the beast in his face until a hand points at him. The protagonist climbs the building and says that he finally found him. The sniper is surprised that this is the 28th floor and he climbed up like that. Xiu says he is here to eliminate chickens to scare the monkeys. He uses his spear and dodges the shots, asking if there are even assistants. More people approach. The sniper says he thought he would take the initiative to come to his door. Lin says it seems he was hired to eliminate him, so now he needs to tell who the employer is, and it will make it easier for him to be eliminated. The sniper says those are arrogant words and tells his men to eliminate them. The protagonist thinks he didn't expect all these warriors to be at the 5th rank. He attacks with his flames and shots come close to him, but Xiu barely dodges. The snipers remain hidden and continue shooting. Luo arrives from behind them. The sniper looks back and encounters her. He quickly grabs his dagger to attack. Ruo approaches and says to protect that girl's family and let them support them. One guy observes them fighting and thinks no one would imagine that 3 high-ranking warriors came from a mere hospital, and this business isn't worth it and it can't continue. While they continue fighting and throwing them away, the leader positions himself with his men and says that since they took the job, they can't give up halfway, or they won't live up to the name of the Fierce Tiger Assassination Squad. Lin asks if he knows about the Fierce Tiger Elimination Squad. Ruo says that although the members of the Fierce Tiger Elimination Squad are all 5th rank, they cultivate a rare joint martial technique, the Fierce Tiger Formation, which allows the spiritual power of 7 people to merge, greatly increasing their strength. The leader says he didn't expect the little girl to know so much and will now let her see it firsthand. All the members of the group activate their abilities, and the academy students also activate theirs, causing a huge explosion. The men realize they've been blocked. The leader orders them to use the move. The men position themselves. The leader uses his 7 Tigers ability, emitting intense auras, causing great impacts and smoke moves. The protagonist says he didn't expect a joint martial technique to unleash power comparable to the 8th rank, and it is truly revealing, and in return, he will show the joint technique with his partner. He activates his flame ability along with Luo, combining their 2 techniques. Ruo says they are both going crazy again. The leader observes their powers and asks where these 2 gods came from. The mana becomes behind him. The Lord asks who the young lady is. She introduces herself. Sima is surprised to hear she's from the Luo family. He calls the protagonist nephew and says he didn't expect him to be so strong, but also specially recruited by the Sanctuary Academy and to have so many connections. If his father were alive, he would be very happy. He also mentions hearing about the Park family and says he doesn't need to deal with it alone and will take care of it for him. The Park family is roaming free in the White Emperor City, intimidating men and women, and he has wanted to deal with them for a long time. Xiu thanks him. The Lord says not to be so formal and that he can call him uncle. Lin says she wants to bother him to send someone to protect Ye and the family. Sima tells her not to worry. The Ye family is his benefactor, and he will certainly ensure their safety. 3 days later, the protagonist's partner says her father is recovering well, and there is no need to worry. The general says the Park family was arrested, and they will cause no more trouble. The Lord asks if she won't stay a few more days. Xiu answers that the mission to investigate Starry Sky City was completed, and the Academy is sending them to investigate the newly formed spatial rift in Thunder Valley, and that he won't bother him. The Lord says if he weren't so busy, he would really like to go to Thunder and take a look. It must be a mix of dragons and snakes there now, with specialists everywhere, so they need to be careful. Lin tells him not to worry and to be cautious, then says goodbye to everyone there. His partner says goodbye and promises to try hard to enter the Sanctuary Academy. Sima wishes her a safe trip. At Thunder Valley, a lightning bolt strikes as the protagonist and his group arrive. The redhead says if such a strong lightning struck him, he would be up instantly. A voice tells them to get out of the way. Luo kicks his partner's butt and asks if he's still not cultivating. Xiu falls and is struck by lightning. The redhead asks if that's not too ruthless. Ruo replies it's fine and that he cultivates lightning alone. The system notifies it is sensing powerful external energy, the devouring skill. The redhead says he now remembers that this guy once defeated the vice director's Thunderbird, and at that time, the whole academy had a blackout. He heard someone was stealing energy and causing trouble. The doctor says he will have to ask that directly. Lin, all burnt, says he's glad he learned power stealing and specifically bought a combat suit that can absorb lightning, so he won't have the embarrassing situation of his clothes exploding again. The redhead asks if the blackout incident last time was really caused by him, and says it's incredible that he even dares to steal energy from the Sanctuary Academy. The protagonist says to keep that quiet. Then a voice shouts for help twice, and a group of friends is being chased by a thunder unicorn. The protagonist notes it's a 7th Order evolved beast. While the guy runs, he asks for help and says he knows where the spatial rift is. Shu looks surprised upon hearing spatial rift and tells him to save him. He thrusts his spear into the ground, moves quickly, strikes the monster, and ducks. The redhead leaps using the violent monkey skill. The beast falls to the ground, excited that it defeated a 7th Order with one punch, and asks if that's not amazing, but the monster gets up fiercer, emitting lightning. Ruo says it's about to use its ultimate move and tells them to get out of the way. The redhead replies it's fine because he has a lightning rod, throwing Lin towards the attack. The protagonist is hit. The system notifies sensing powerful external energy, activating the devouring skill, converting experience points. It says he's shameless for using his companion as a shield. Bahuo replies he's doing it for his own good, letting him endure more electric shocks. The group of men being chased is surprised, saying they can knock down a 7th Order evolved beast with just one punch and kick, get hit directly by lightning, and still jump excitedly. Luo says to use him again as a lightning rod, and the beast is eliminated. The redhead asks who kicked Lin into the lightning just now and says it's double standards. The beast runs closer. Shu attacks with his spears but notices he can't pierce this guy's scales anyway. Yue says to use the Pear Blossom spear to hit the same spot repeatedly. Lin thinks she's still smart. He attacks again with his spears, causing impact and piercing through his body. The beast attacks and the protagonist retreats. Luo says now it's her turn. She runs towards the monster and cuts it. The beast screams, the other three smile and run towards the unicorn to attack it, knocking it down. The group watching asks if they easily defeated a 7th Order evolved beast. Several people arrive, calling one of them Captain and saying they are there. The captain approaches and says he told him to distract the unicorn but ended up being chased everywhere, then asks if it was eliminated and if he was the one who finished it off. The group replies no, it was those 4 who crushed it. The captain thinks they are so young, but capable of taking down a 7th Order evolved beast, wondering if it's a coincidence, and says thanks to those 4 they found this rhinoceros first and some of their brothers even got hurt trying to hunt it. The protagonist asks if then that 7th Order crystal should belong to him. The bearded man answers yes, and says there are many other valuable materials in the rhino and he can keep them. Shu asks if he refuses. The captain responds they will have to take it from the rhino's corpse. Luo draws her sword and stares at them. Ruo says they dare to take something from her, and his courage is commendable. The redhead says to watch him break all their bones. They run toward the opponents and start attacking. The bearded man watches with his sword in hand, wondering if these people are really that strong, and says to catch bandits, they should first catch the leader. Lin asks if he looks like someone easy to intimidate. He activates his 100 birds paying homage to the Phoenix skill, causing a huge explosion. Then smoke moves and the 4 manage to defeat everyone. The blonde says not to kill them and to let them go. The protagonist says to tell him the exact location of the spatial rift and he will let them go. The blonde replies he doesn't know the exact location of the spatial rift and only said that before to get them to save him. Ruo points his sword at him and says then he must be finished off. The desperate blonde says that although he doesn't know the exact location, the captain has a map in his backpack. The redhead goes there, takes a sheet from the backpack and looks at it, realizing it really is a map marking the location of the spatial rift in the heart of Thunder Valley. Sue observes and says the map indicates an area with frequent lightning strikes and appearances of numerous unknown evolved beasts, and that must be the spatial rift location. Yue says the word hide. The 3 are confused and ask what is happening. She tells them to be quiet. Someone approaches with several people, one of whom is the older brother. Lin is surprised and Luo puts her hand over his mouth. A guy notices something and the girl asks what is wrong. The young man replies it seems there is someone there. In a low voice, the protagonist asks if they have been discovered, until a beast jumps toward the people, and the guy says it was only a blind beast. He grabs it by the neck without difficulty, chokes it, and throws it away. They walk and leave that place. Shu observes and asks why Luo didn't greet her older brother. She replies those people are all from Celestial City, and also trained in the Taylor world and are extremely dangerous. The redhead asks if that 7th Order evolved beast was eliminated with a single strike. Yue replies it's no wonder they are all 8th Order and have cultivated powerful techniques. Ruo asks if those people are also there because of the new spatial rift that appeared in Thunder Valley. Luo says a single spatial rift is not enough to transport all these people. There must be a bigger opportunity since it is in Thunder Valley, probably related to the lightning attribute, and they have to seize the opportunity there. The redhead says giving all the good things to Lin and the others must be true love. Ruo tells him to shut up. Elsewhere, the 100 birds paying homage to the Phoenix skill is activated by Lin, thinking more than 100 fifth-order electric ants yielded over 200 million experience points. They are rich. Bao Hu says this guy always runs first whenever he sees monsters and even gets happy about it, asking if he's addicted to destroying monsters until they hear that care is needed, and not to hold back since all of them are being eliminated there. The protagonist asks if it seems there is a fierce battle happening there. The system notifies the characteristic of the dark spirit fruit and a fifth-order thunder armor beast. He asks if it really is the dark spirit fruit. The redhead says it's a rare treasure. Nearby people are fighting beasts. One of them gets burned by lightning and falls. Shu observes and says that although they are only fifth order, the paralyzing attribute of lightning is difficult to defend against, and these people can't hold out, telling them to go there and deal with these problems. Thunder Armor Beast first. He approaches, attacks with his spear, and says this little electricity is not even enough to itch his grandfather's occurrence. People watch and ask who this guy is and why he didn't get paralyzed by the lightning, saying it's incredible. Then a giant beast emits a sound. The smaller beasts get angrier and run toward him. They exchange various blows. People watch and say it's not good. The Thunder Armor Beasts are furious, and with so many attacking together, even if they aren't eliminated, they'll be seriously injured. Smoke moves as Lin defends with shields and laughs. People look surprised, and the protagonist says he will show what real sparks are. The beasts start screaming, and Shu uses electric light silica stone. The beasts fall defeated to the ground. People are very surprised and ask if the monsters were dealt with so quickly, saying they are very strong and thank them for the help. One says most of the Thunder Armor Beasts were finished by him, and the Dark Spirit Fruits belong to all of them. They want the Dark Spirit Fruits and ask if they're willing to sell. Lin looks at him and laughs, saying he's polite, but eating many of those Dark Spirit Fruits is useless. They only need 4 and the rest are theirs to share. The guy gets excited and thanks again. The protagonist says he's never eaten a Dark Spirit Fruit before and asks what it tastes like until they hear a voice telling them to stop and asking how they dare touch the young master buys things. A group approaches, and the guy says they are from the Zydian sect. One of them says since they know the Zydian sect, why don't they hurry up and disappear? The others get angry, asking since when Thunder became the Zydian sect's backyard. They haven't finished any Thunder Armor Beast, but suddenly show up wanting to have fun. The sect leader says theirs is one of the best sects in Thunder Valley and asks how they, ants, dare to contradict them, saying he will count to 3 for them to leave. Then someone attacks. The sect leader tries to dodge but gets slightly cut. Luo asks why waste words with these people and says just eliminate them. The irritated leader asks how they dare attack him and tells his subordinates to keep the 2 women alive and eliminate everyone else. The subordinates move quickly and surround them, forming a ring. The protagonist asks if they're really targeting him and says they really don't know how to live. The sect leader says since they want to be eliminated so badly, he will grant their wish. The other group, one asks if they're going to attack. The chief says the Zydian sect is going too far and they will catch him. The sect leader jumps using purple lightning slash. Shu blocks with his spear. The sect leader calls him an idiot and asks how he dares use metal weapons to resist the Zydian sect's martial skills. Lin asks if that's all and if he still has the nerve to say he plays with lightning. He emits lightning and says he will show his lightning, activating his lightning skill, Stormflower Spear. The sect leader asks if he can also use lightning attribute martial skills. Lightning strikes the sky and the leader wonders if he didn't say the closer you get to the depths of the Thunder Valley, the fewer lightning strikes there are in the sky. And if since the two constantly use lightning martial skills that attracted the lightning. The lightning approaches them, and the protagonist asks why his face looks so ugly, and if this environment shouldn't be the Zydian sect's home. The lightning grows much stronger. The sect leader thinks this is bad and starts to run. Shu tells him not to run because this is a great tonic. The lightning hits them. Lin smiles while being hit by the lightning as his enemy screams. People around worry about the protagonist and the subordinates worry about their master. Smoke moves, and in the shadow, Shu is unharmed holding his defeated enemy, asking if he was electrocuted to death and says the sect isn't that good after all. The young master is defeated, and the guys ask if he really eliminated Bai, saying the sect master will surely tear him to pieces. They say he did many ruined things and was hit by a lightning bolt from the sky and ask if that has anything to do with it. The guildmaster orders them to eliminate him and leave no one alive. The men run to attack. Later, at the same place, they inform Lin that it's confirmed and no one escaped. The protagonist apologizes for involving him too. The master says it's okay, and that the Zydian sect has been imposing near Thunder Valley for years and hasn't tolerated them for a long time. He was originally thinking of finishing this work and leaving with his brothers anyway. Shu says there's no need to share the spoils from these warriors and that he can give everything to his brothers. They get excited hearing that and thank him. The The protagonist says this is not a place to stay and calls to collect the dark spirit fruits and leave. The master agrees and says they will handle the bodies and then leave. Lin tells them to be careful and that they will meet again. She says the dark spirit fruit is truly amazing and feels her strength has improved significantly. She tells her older sister to go too and then meditate and absorb it, and that she and her partner will keep guard for her. Ma notices something and spots a fifth-order alien creature, a thunder beetle. They approach with their lightning and end up hitting him. Shu says these are specialized beetles and quite interesting creatures. Ruo says they should have left the spatial rift. The protagonist says the direction those beetles came from must be where the spatial rift is and tells them to go check it out. Meanwhile, elsewhere, with lightning being released, is the rift. Quan says his Xidian sect is determined to obtain the Thunder Lotus Fire. Wan says if he wants the Thunder Lotus Fire, he'll have to get past him first. They start fighting. The four are hiding behind bushes. Luo says the Thunder Lotus Fire really appeared. Lin asks if two groups are fighting for the Thunder Lotus Fire, and Ruo says there are people from the Xidian sect. Yue says the Thunder Lotus Fire must be near the spatial rift. They tiptoe and come across more beetles and something among them. Shu notices them and says to look. It's the Thunder Lotus Fire. Luo replies yes. The two guys keep fighting, and a voice says that both at the peak of 7th Order can't beat them, and that they can take advantage of the opportunity. A huge beetle moves and hits a guy. Quan asks if it's actually 8th Order and says this beast is 8th Order and they need to unite to fight it. He suggests defeating the beast first and then settling accounts. The bald guy agrees. The protagonist says it's a good chance and will catch that thing. He moves quickly and says this kind of energy aggregate seems to require a special tool to collect, and asks if they want to see if he can get it directly. Lin grabs an item. A guy looks and notices him there, saying it's not good and someone is stealing the Thunder Lotus Fire. Quan looks surprised, and Shu realizes he's been discovered but will take the risk anyway. When he touches it, a great energy attacks him. The old man calls him an idiot for reaching out directly to grab the Thunder Lotus Fire and says he just has to wait to be electrocuted and turn to charcoal. The protagonist quickly leaves and remains unharmed after being electrocuted. The two men look indignant and ask if he really is okay. They order to chase him and not let this kid escape. But the beetle heads toward the two. They have no way out. Lin reaches his group telling them to go. Elsewhere, Luo says there's someone ahead. Shu asks if the two old men are chasing him. Yue replies no. They are people from Sky City from before. The protagonist says it's okay and that the older brother-in-law is there. His partner tells him to swallow the Thunder Lotus Fire. Lin asks about swallowing it and says he will eliminate him. Luo, impatient, pushes the fire into his mouth with her feet and says she said, swallow, so he must swallow. Shu asks if she's trying to eliminate her future husband. He swallows the fire. Extremely strong lightning is released. The system notifies it senses powerful external energy and activates the devouring skill. Ma asks if this is the legendary rain and eliminate each other, and Ruo tells him to shut up. The people from Sky City walk, and their leader says he senses the aura of the Thunder Lotus Fire. They notice the boy there with lightning around him. The girl says it's the Thunder Lotus Fire and asks if he really swallowed it. The leader asks how that is possible. He runs toward them, telling them to eliminate him, cut open his stomach, and take the Thunder Lotus Fire since it's not too late. The three look on and Luo steps forward, wanting to know how he dares. Then someone says to stop. It's the older brother. The leader asks if he will stop him. Tian asks if he's blind and doesn't recognize his sister. The leader looks and realizes it really is her. He withdraws and says to do as they wish. Yue glares at him and her brother says they met again and that their father sent him to bring her back. Luo replies she won't go. Tian says that the brat from the Yu family told their father everything about her and Lin and even offered to break the engagement. Their father is furious and wants him to drag her back and lock her up. Yue says Yu is a scoundrel and will definitely eliminate him. After her partner finishes absorbing the Lotus Fire, she will return with him. Her brother says he knows she likes this boy and wants to protect him, to help him grow faster, but can't protect him forever. And as a man, he shouldn't be protected by a woman. Luo says this is the last time and when he finishes absorbing, he will leave. Tian says their father's orders are that if she doesn't go, they must eliminate the boy, and since she won't listen, he shouldn't be blamed for being ruthless. Yue wants to know how he dares. The protagonist tells her to go with the older brother and not to worry about himself, saying he knows she is good for him and doesn't want her to go either, but he can't always hide behind his girlfriend and let her protect him. He will be in Sky City by his own strength and before them, and she can believe that they will meet again soon. Luo hands him something and says she gives her word. She leaves with her brother, and Lin thinks for her not to worry because in less than a year he will be in Sky City before her. Ruo says they are a mismatched pair and hopes his sister will capture his heart and comfort him. Ma says this group will catch up soon and they will find a safe place for Lin to absorb the Thunder Lotus Fire first. She says when they arrived earlier, she noticed a hidden cave ahead and calls him to go there. One day later, inside the cave, Ma says it was a huge day and asks if the boy is okay. Ruo sighs and replies that the thunder element inside the Thunder Lotus fire is very violent and abundant, and he won't absorb it quickly. They hear someone saying the detector senses a powerful thunder attribute energy in this cave, and to investigate immediately. Ruo says a whole day has passed and these people still haven't given up. Ma says at least they are using a detector, without martial virtue, and should hide deeper in the cave. Inside the cave, they keep going deeper until they come across green water. Bao says he didn't expect there to be a hidden paradise down there. Ruo tells them to be careful because the cave doesn't seem safe. The men approach and comment that there really is an underground cavern and everyone should be cautious. The old man says to look at the white bones and notes that there seem to be evolved and fierce beasts there. Hiding, Ma asks if they got caught that quickly and says it's truly scary. Shui says they have detectors and can't be hidden at all. Bao grumbles and says to run up to them and fight. Ruo replies that they have two 7th order beings, and going there is just asking to be wiped out. He asks his partner when he'll finish absorbing. Xu replies he's not sure but soon, and asks if they felt the lightning attribute aura coming from the bottom of the deep pool. Shui asks if there's something under the water. Lin replies that although it's intentionally hidden, he can sense that there must be a powerful evolved beast with a lightning attribute below the deep pool. Ma asks why it's hiding its aura. Ruo replies that it's preparing to hunt those who invaded its territory. An elder approaches, talking about a report and an element detected at the bottom of the deep pool. The old man calls him an idiot and asks if it really hid in the deep pool. The bald guy says now they can catch the turtle in a jar. The protagonist smiles and says those guys also found something under the deep pool. Bao mentions the Thunder Lotus fire and asks if he hasn't absorbed most of it already. Shi replies that it's a defective product that released and condensed the Thunder Lotus fire energy inside itself. Ruo asks what he's doing. Lin says that since it's an evolved beast with a lightning attribute, it can withstand the Thunder Lotus fire and will stir up the water. He jumps and calls out to it. The beast sticks its head out of the water and comes out completely. It's an 8th order beast, a thunder venom python. Ma is surprised by the size of the snake, and Shui says its aura is actually peak 8th order. The protagonist calls out to the snake and tells it to look at what he has in his hand. He runs off while the snake chases him. Xu tells the two to hide well because he's going to take the snake for a walk. Bao observes and says that guy is completely insane. Ruo says no risk, no reward, and the reason big strength improves so quickly is because he's crazy enough. The smoke clears, and the old man looks, asking what's going on there. It seems like they're fighting. Lin comes out of the smoke, and they watch closely. The old man asks what he's seeing and says it's the Thunder Lotus fire. The bald guy says the boy doesn't know he can't escape, so he's bringing the Thunder Lotus fire at first. The snake keeps chasing him. The protagonist greets them and says he brought the snake for a visit. They both say it's an 8th order evolved beast. The snake opens its huge mouth and releases power, causing a great impact and pushing them away. The old man says that bastard deliberately brought a giant python toward them. The beast is about to strike Xu, but he jumps, and the snake attacks another person in front of it with its huge mouth, easily swallowing him. The old man says that's despicable and he'll stop the giant python, and Wan and his men will join forces against the kid, asking who gets the Thunder Lotus fire first. The bald guy agrees. The old man says they'll fight the giant beast and tells everyone else to attack the boy. They respond that they understand. The two begin attacking the snake, and the subordinates go after Lin, saying to eliminate him and retrieve the thunder fire. Ruo attacks them and says they're there to help and for him to keep absorbing. They'll block them. The protagonist replies he understands and there's just a bit left. Shui says to go for a kill. Ma replies that he got it. Meanwhile, on the other side, the beast is about to launch a lightning ball. The old man says the beast's attribute is the same as his and he'll block it, and he attacks from the side. The beast emits a circle of slime. The bald guy asks if it's not a lightning ball. The old man uses his shield to defend. The slime hits his shield and he realizes it's poison. The snake keeps releasing poison. The bald guy says to get out of the way quickly. The old man says it's highly poisonous. The subordinates are hit, engulfed by the poison. They scream in pain. Ruo says it's a vicious poison. The system notifies that the energy devourer is complete and congratulates him on a successful level up, current level 34. Then, the system also displays his stats. The protagonist watches and thinks that, in fact, the Thunder Lotus fire was leveled up twice in a row. After putting all potential points into physical, his combat power is nearly 8,000, and if he levels up once more, he'll be a 7th order martial artist. He says he'll calm down with this battle. The warriors look and ask if this Thunder Lotus fire seems a bit bigger than before. His partner calls him an idiot and says he really didn't swallow the Thunder Lotus fire and to rip it from him. The snake looks to the side and rushes toward him. The bald guy asks what plan that little bastard is scheming now. The old man says that no matter what, they can't let the giant python swallow the Thunder Lotus fire. Xiu, with the fire in his hand, tells his brothers to get away. The farther, the better. Ruo asks if he's going to use that perverted move again. Lin replies that he successfully fused 2 types of flames in his body, and now, even without Luo, he can use the fusion technique alone. Ma tries to say something, but Shui runs and pulls him, telling him not to ask, just run. Then a voice asks if he doesn't want the energy aggregate. The energies merge. Lightning is released from the protagonist's body, and he says he still has a red lotus. The bald guy asks how lucky this guy is if he really has 2 energy aggregates. The old man says no, and that the aura emanating between the 2 aggregates is terrifying. Shu says this move is called. He clasps his hands and uses the celestial thunder hook of earth and fire, unleashing a massive amount of mana. The old man looks terrified. Due to the pressure, the green water begins to move. Stones in the area start to crack. Ma asks what kind of move that is and says, it's insane. Smoke shifts. People lie on the ground and the beast, still alive, moves quickly. Lin, outraged, asks if that beast really still hasn't died. The snake dives into the lake. The protagonist runs toward it and says the 8th Order alien crystal is trying to escape. He calls his brothers and says he'll leave the final hits to them. Shui tells him to be careful. Shu dives into the water quickly and underwater. Lin wonders why the pool water feels like it's burning, and if the plasma of this giant python could also be poisonous. He thinks he must end this quickly. The snake notices him and the protagonist asks where it thinks it's going. He strikes it with his spear. The beast trembles heavily as plasma seeps from its body. Shu thinks it hurts a lot and that he needs to grab the alien crystal and get out. He takes the crystal. The system notifies powerful external energy detected, activating Devour skill and converting experience points. Lin wonders if the system really judged that strong poison as unknown energy and began absorbing it. Since that's the case, he won't rush and will absorb this potent poison first. Ma notices the beast is down and asks why his partner hasn't returned to the surface. Ruo says they've already packed all the valuable stuff and can leave now. The system notifies it's at 100%, and the protagonist, still underwater, thinks the python's plasma is great. Though absorbed quickly, it feels like every inch of his skin was tempered. He comes out of the water and says he's coming. They walk out of the cave and comment that the cave is really big, so it's better to return the way they came. Ma sighs and says the beast's corpse is definitely valuable, but it's too big to carry. Later, in another location, lightning flashes in the sky and arrows fly towards Shu. He notices and warns everyone to be careful. They're under surprise attack until one arrow hits him. Lin asks who it is and says to get out of there. Someone hidden says he was struck by his poison arrow and only has a few seconds to live. The protagonist smiles and says the poison is useless against him, and since he wants to show off, he'll just burn him. He uses his 100 birds ability toward the opponent, causing an explosion. The voice asks how such powerful flames can exist and says his hair is on fire. The soldiers flee. Ruo and his partner smile and immediately attack. Shu asks if that's all their power and says no wonder they hide in the dark to ambush people. Ma says there's a mark on their clothes. It's a lightning symbol, and asks if they're from the Zidiano sect they eliminated. Shui says the Zidiano sect's clothes are different from these people's. Bao says he's seen that mark before at the entrance of Thunder Valley. Those people seem to be called Thunder Roar Knights. Lin says it's a badass name and notices there's a lot of good stuff in their bags, asking if they have credit cards from the guild. Ruo says it seems like the Thunder Knights are no good, just a bunch of thugs ambushing people everywhere. The protagonist, holding the crystals, says not to back down when seeing people from the Thunder Roar Knights again, because those guys are just rich kids spreading wealth. Then they hear people asking if they want to run and demanding they hand over the 8th Order alien crystal. It's basically 2 people arguing. Shu tells his teammates to stay quiet. Someone's there. Shui says that voice could be 3 warriors come running from inside. Lin looks surprised. They all recognize the 3. Ruo asks why they're here. The girl replies that they took on the Thunder Valley rendezvous mission issued by the Academy. Ma asks if she doesn't know Thunder Valley is very dangerous right now. The boy replies that when they accepted the mission, they didn't know a spatial rift had appeared in Thunder Valley. 2 enemies approach. The long-haired one asks if there are more teammates. The bald one says that's great and tells them to hand over all the backpacks. Then they glance to the side and ask if that's Goblin and Leviathan lying on the ground, and if they defeated the 2. The protagonist replies yes and asks if he wants to be sent to join them. The thug wants to know how he dares to brag so shamelessly and tells them to focus their fire and avenge Goblin and Leviathan. The soldier aims his bow and shoots several arrows at once. The protagonist activates the barrier and tells everyone to be careful because the arrows are poisonous. The arrows fly toward them but are blocked by the energy. Lin wonders if this is the updated sphere after absorbing the Thunder Lotus fire and thinks it's amazing. The bald guy asks how that's possible and the long-haired one says, to shoot, keep shooting, and break through the defense. The soldiers hold their positions and continue firing. Xiu says it's rude not to return the favor. He uses his electric light technique and says he's sending it back to them. The pressure intensifies and the soldiers are thrown back, asking what kind of move that is and say to make a wish quickly. The protagonist says, let's see what goodies these rich spreading boys will drop. He uses his skill, Sky Covering Array. The bald guy asks if that's a domain. Ma laughs and says that's exactly what it feels like, and that he could take on 10 of them. The girl says she suddenly feels her strength increase. Bao runs toward the enemy and asks how they dare provoke the Sacred Kingdom Academy and tells his friends to eliminate them. The bald guy asks if this is the domain D. The leader realizes that this young man is the 9th. Lin quickly moves toward him using his fast step. The long-haired guy says they're Thunder Roar Knights and cannot be eliminated, until he's struck by Shu, who doesn't hesitate and says that it's precisely them, the Thunder Roar Knights, who are being eliminated. He says it's all settled, they're just paper tigers, and tells his partners to stop standing around and check the backpacks for good stuff. They find several crystals and look pleased. The protagonist laughs and says they really are rich spreading kids with lots of great stuff. Ma says don't be shy and just grab it all. Lin asks what exactly their mission is there. The bald guy says the mission was to collect 10 6th order or higher lightning attribute alien crystals. The boy says they had only collected 3 originally, but now the mission is complete. The girl agrees and says they should thank the Thunder Roar Knights for giving them the crystals. Ruo says he just heard the Thunder Roar Knights mention something about hidden 8th order crystals. The girl confirms and asks if they aren't really lucky to have taken on this mission. Zhu asks since when 8th order alien crystals are so cheap that you can buy them anywhere. The bald guy says seriously they entered a dangerous place by accident and got it there. The protagonist asks about this dangerous place and if they also went to the spatial rift. The bald guy replies yes, they were near the spatial rift. Many martial artists lost their lives there. Most were decapitated or had their limbs cut off by strange, sharp blades. They suspect it's alien creatures that came from the spatial rift, and they can turn invisible and have sharp forelimbs that can easily kill enemies. They personally saw 6th order martial artists be killed easily, but couldn't see what kind of creature did it, so they knew they weren't a match. After grabbing an 8th order alien crystal from a martial artist's backpack, they hurried back. Xiu says that even though they're very curious about what kind of creatures those are, it's better not to explore such a dangerous place. Shui agrees and says since he completed his mission, they should all head back together. At the entrance to Thunder Valley, voices shout to step aside and not block the path. Soldiers walk after defeating a beast and ask if they saw that. That's the strength of the Thunder Roar Knights. All those were 8th order evolved beasts, and even if someone dares step in front of the Thunder Roar Knights, they'll still be eliminated. Ma says that Giant Python was clearly taken down by his partner. Ruo asks if he's ever seen anyone so shameless. The protagonist says 8th order alien beast corpses are full of good stuff, but unfortunately they couldn't take them at the time, so they made a deal. A voice tells them to stop. It's a soldier, saying that judging by the full backpacks, they must have had a great harvest in Thunder Valley, and asks how about negotiating with the Thunder Knights, saying the price will guarantee their satisfaction. The boy says there's no need, and they keep walking. The irritated soldier tells them to wait and asks if he said they could leave. Xiu turns and walks up to him. The soldier says this is Thunder Knights territory, and if they don't sell what they collected, he asks if they're looking down on the Thunder Roar Knights. Lin calls him.
If you enjoyed this video, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell icon, and like the video. Thank you.